All right, all right. I already see we got some people in the room. What's good? If y'all can hear me, give me a one. Give me a one. Just give me a one if y'all can hear me. Oh, look at Black Tastic in the building. Hot seat. What's up, brother? I'm always glad you're always here. What's up, Yahushua? Always. I see the same people that have been supporting the channel from the beginning. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Hopefully, you guys can hear me. Can everybody hear me? Can you hear me? What's up? What's up? What's up? Black Panda, what's good? I'm seeing all the regulars. We're going to give it a few minutes to get it going. I see we got a couple people here. Hit that like, you guys. Share, 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 share. Please, everybody. Everybody in here, share. What's up? What's up, everybody? Just Reese, what's up? What's up? What's up? Shalom, shalom. Well, as you guys know, today's a hot seat. Yeah, I got that from Sal Showtime from Debate Talk for You. Anybody know about Debate Talk for You? You guys clearly know all about the hot seat. It's no joke, okay? And this brother is very familiar with the hot seat, so he ready for all the smoke. So basically, we're going to be talking about like relationship type stuff. So basically, like red pill, passport bros, high value, all those three things that are very controversial right now, especially in our community. That's what we're going to be talking about. So please, you guys, don't hold your questions back. We're going to let him present his points for all three of these different topics as far as what it is, his stance on it, and what people have an issue with it as far as passport bros, high value, and what was the other one? There you go. There you go. What's
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, you can sound. You sound good. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, you coming through loud and clear. Awesome,
Yeah,
awesome.
I had a brain fart for a second. I was like, what am I talking about again? Let me bring him up. See, it's right there at the bottom. High value, red pill, and passport bros. So
Okay,
welcome back, man. How you doing?
we're back. You had me back. You had me back. I'm a glutton for punishment. I just like being punished. That's all.
Make sure you guys check him out on TikTok. I mean, he got you. You got that page rolling, man. You
Trying to
really
get it
do.
going.
Like people are really enjoying the content you pushing out. You keep it very entertaining, like, and a lot of points you make, man. The people are loving it. So y'all definitely go on TikTok, YouTube, and where else is Instagram as well, I believe, right?
Yeah, yeah. YouTube, Instagram, TikTok.
Yeah, check him out. High Value Hebrew. Got a lot of great content on there. And if you want to look at some of his biblical teaching, you also have a channel on YouTube as well, right?
Yeah, yeah. That's Fountain of Israel.
Yeah,
Yeah,
found
Fountain
it.
of Israel. If you want the biblical teachings.
Yeah, exactly. So he does it all over here. Okay. He does it all. All right. So before now, just so we have some ground rules, the first thing I want to do is, of course, we want to make sure we play our disclaimer
Grand
real quick.
disclaimer. The views and opinions expressed by individuals on this platform, the callers plus invited guests, are their own. The information you hear does not reflect the overall views of all parties associated with this brand. We encourage everyone to research all things heard live or via archive for edification purposes. Discretion is advised.
Woo! All right.
There you have it.
Put a disclaimer out there, y'all. Now, the next thing we want to do is I want to just go over the schedule for tonight so everybody that knows. We're going to give him about a good 30, 45 minutes to basically lay down his claims, what his positions are, why he feels this way, what evidence or statistics or anything that he has to present. He's going to bring it to the table, y'all. And then we're going to give you guys an opportunity to actually ask him any question that you like regarding the topic at hand. Now, I don't mind if it's other questions that may not really go with the topic, but it can't be too far off. Like it's if it's connected somewhat, we'll entertain that. But you don't be coming up in here talking about something that don't got nothing to do with what we're talking about. Like, please don't do that. We're trying to stay on topic. We're trying to really dive in and deal with these issues because it's a big issue and it's affecting our community like
Yeah.
really, really bad. Like a lot of people, from people losing lives to children not being with their parents, their fathers, and like it's a lot of problems that's associated with what's going on. And our community is the one that's suffering the most. So that's why we want to stay on topic. After he finished breaking down his position about 30-45 minutes. We're going to put a link in the chat, and we're going to give you guys an opportunity to pose any question you like regarding the topic at hand. You're going to get about 90 to 120 seconds depending on how you're breaking down your questions. If I see that you're kind of getting there, I'll give you a few more seconds, but after that we'll drop you down back to the studio just so that we can give everybody an opportunity to ask their questions. Now, if we still have a little bit more time and you have a secondary question, once you get dropped in the studio, you can have access to the private chat. Just say, hey, Christina, I got one more follow-up question. If it's time and we can entertain that, we will. If High Value Hebrew feels that he wants to engage a little bit more with one of you guys that hit the link and we don't have anybody else up, that is his full discretion to do so. So if he's like, hey, Christina, you know, James that came up here a minute ago, if it's no more people in the studio, can you bring James back up? I wanna chat it up with him a little bit more, then that's his full discretion to do so. After that, we'll have our closing statements and remarks. You also have the comment section, you guys. So just hit the comment section if you have any questions or anything like that. You don't have to necessarily come up on the studio. Some people are a little bit shy about being on camera or coming up on studio or anything like that. You don't have to come up. You can put it in the comment section and he don't mind addressing it there at all. So with no more further ado, all right, let's get to the first topic at hand, high value. So you call yourself High Value Hebrew, but we know that high value, that's always been around, but I think Kevin Samuels really made it big, and he used to call it High Value Man.
Correct.
So you call yourself High Value Hebrew. So why do you call yourself High Value Hebrew? What is a High Value Hebrew? And why don't you just call yourself High Value Man instead of High Value Hebrew?
Well, with respect to, you know, Kevin Samuels, I mean, I did watch his content, and I enjoyed his content. And I think that most of everything that he said, I think was true. You know, 95% of everything he said was true. I found very little that I disagreed with, although I did find a few things that I disagreed with. But as far as the difference between High Value Man and High Value Hebrew is that I wanted to incorporate my ethics. I wanted to incorporate morality. I wanted to incorporate those type of things. And that's not a slight against Kevin Samuels. It's just that when he has his definition of a high value man, and you yourself kind of did a little bit, broke down the 6 components that he talks about being a high value man. None of it had to do with character or ethics or morality or anything like that, right? And I think those things, now I know most of the time we don't bring that to the marketplace. I get that. But I do want to have people understand that to a lot of men, their ethics and their morality, their faith is important to them, and it's a part of who they are. It's what shapes them. It's what, you know, helps them make decisions in life and make moves in life. So I wanted to incorporate that just to answer your question. So rather than just high value man, I want to say high value Hebrew. Now, also, I say Hebrew because of, you know, my faith, Messianic Hebrew faith, you know, that kind of thing. So I wanted to brand that. And I'm not saying I'm the high value Hebrew. I'm saying there are high value Hebrews out there is what I'm saying. Biblically, if we look at the men of renown, these are high value Hebrews. You want to look at Moses, you want to look at, you know, Abraham, you want to look at David, Solomon, Gideon, all these people, all the disciples, Jeremiah, Hosea, you guys get the point, right? So these are all high value Hebrews and all men of renown. So I wanted to kind of put that in there. But with respect with Kevin Samuels, like you said, he definitely is the one who kind of got it, blew up. I mean, he didn't invent it, you know, because as I just pointed out, there's been a lot of high value people, you know, like in the Bible, the high value people throughout history. All the people that we read about and study throughout all of history, a lot of them are high value. So I wanted to kind of look at that, and I just wanted to introduce the faith portion into that. Okay, and I just think that's important. I think that counts for something. Go ahead.
Now, what qualifies you as a high value Hebrew?
Well, what qualifies you as a high value Hebrew is that the financial component that Kevin Samuel talked about, but then when you also incorporate your faith, meaning you have a moral compass, you have, you know, something about your character there, right? And then also on the financial component, I know a lot of Hebrew gentlemen or of the Hebrew faith, and their high value may look a little bit different than what Kevin Samuel's talking about. Like, for instance, you know, it's not usually all the way about the flashy apparel and things like that. Some guys, they have means, but they want to go live on a farm. Okay, they want to be, they want to be like preppers and stuff like that, right? These are high value guys. You have farm, you have some land, you own it or you're about to own it. You got animals, you want to be self-sufficient. That's high value. If you can become self-sufficient, you can get out, move out of the city, become self-sufficient, and be able to worship in a way that you feel, more comfortable. That type of thing. That's high value. Those you're devout in your beliefs. You are walking in your faith. You're not just talking about it, but you're living it out. I think some of those things qualify you as a high value Hebrew.
Now, since you brought up Kevin Samuels, we're gonna go there then, and then we're gonna move on to the next point.
Sure.
Do you believe that high value men also have that same right to, he says high value men don't cheat, they exercise their options. So they're sexually active with multiple women. They even talk about how it's now this idea that most wealthy men that are high value men, most of them are going to mess around, and that kind of comes with the package deal. So right. A lot of women are saying, look, it's not what you think, messing with these high value men. They want to have sex with everybody. You got to be okay with sharing him. So is that the same position with high value Hebrews? Do they have the same leverage that they can go around and just have sex with all these women, and the other women that choose to be with them is just something that comes with the package?
That's a very good question, and that's definitely a hot seat question. So let me answer that this way. What Kevin Samuels said, that is true. That's how it is, how it's been throughout all of history. There was a study, they just did a study. I was just looking at it a couple months ago. They just did a study, and they were just saying that only about 40% of men throughout all history has procreated. Okay, so women have been converging on the same men for a very, very long time. Now, again, I'm speaking in the secular. They've been converging on the same man. If you're a warrior, a noble, a duke, a king, a prince, or whatever, you had your pick of the women. That's just how it's human nature. That's how it works. Okay, that's just how it's always been. So I understand what he's saying. And now to answer your question directly, when you say, well, is it the same for a high value Hebrew? Yes and no. Yes, you can do that, but the difference is you're taking responsibility for these women. So people of the faith who believe in it, they'll practice polygyny. So they have wives and concubines and things like that. So it's done in a righteous way. So again, even women in the faith who are fine with polygyny, will still converge on a high value guy. Okay, I mean the lot of King David had a lot of wives, and Solomon had a lot of wives, and Gideon had a lot of wives, and so on and so forth. We know of all the people, if anybody, read the Bible, we know of all the people who had, multiple wives and stuff like that. But yeah, so it looks the same. The only difference is that you're not bed hopping. If you're the high value Hebrew, you're not just bed hopping, because fornication is not supported, and whoremongering and adultery and all that. So all that's why I said this incorporates a moral component. So sure, if you're going to take another wife or whatever, as long as you're in a relationship, you're taking responsibility for her. You're taking care of her. She's yours. She's not to be, passed around and things like that. So she's yours. So yeah, it looks similar. It's just more of a keeping her around kind of thing, more of a relationship, just kind of a multiple relationship thing, multiple wives, wives, concubines. And I understand that some people, even in the faith don't believe it, but that's a debate for a different
day. Yeah, we're not going to get too much on it, but I had to bring it up because that's like a big thing that a lot of women complain about.
Sure.
That, hey, that was my problem when I dated one. He wanted all these women. Do you think that's a modern women issue, or do you think traditional and modern women have an issue with sharing their man?
I think mostly, I can't say all, I think mostly it's modern women. There are some traditional women. I just think there's less traditional women that has a problem with it, because it's a practice. We got to understand, it's a practice that's done all over the world, period. It's all over the world, all throughout history, and it's taught out of people. It's conditioned in the society. So a lot of the modern women today.
So you're thinking like it's a cultural thing?
It's very cultural. It was very, very cultural.
I grew up in a certain part of the world that practiced that, modern or traditional, it wouldn't be such an issue for me, you think?
Not that big a deal. I've gone, I actually have a couple of friends who gone on to dating sites, but they go international, right? They'll go, whether it be, like Africa, for example. Okay. and they'll ask the women, they'll meet them, talk to them, and just test it out. Just say, hey, well, I'm polygynous, so I just want to see if that's cool. All of them, there's okay, that's fine. They live in a society where that's normal. It's fine. Almost no pushback. Period. Almost no pushback. Okay. And what I find interesting, even with modern women, okay, this is something we can all relate to. This is something we all see all the time. Take a celebrity for a second. Take yourself a Drake, Dr. Dre, a Lil Wayne, and Idris Elba, take a celebrity, okay, or Wayne The Rock Johnson, Jason Momoa, any of these guys, right? Now I know some of those that I said are relationships, but I'm just saying, if you look at that, and these women will converge on these women, and they know, okay, you're dealing with this guy, you're dealing with this rock star, this celebrity, or this athlete, and they already know that these men see other women, but they don't care, they still want to see them.
Yeah. That's
polygyny. So they, you know what I'm saying? But their mind changes when all of a sudden, you say, okay, it's relationship time. They're okay with it if they can brush greatness. Okay, if they can brush with greatness, it's fine that he has other women. It's okay. But guess what? It's been that all throughout history. So the modern woman's been fooled that she thinks that she is the prize all the time. And in these cases, when you switch it, when you talk about a guy with high status, they know they're not the prize. And so that number of resistance, that number kind of dwindles down. Of course, there'll be a few women who'll be like, well, it doesn't matter. I don't want to deal with it. Okay, that's cool. That's fine. But most, they will deal with it. If the guy's status is high enough, they're gonna accept it.
It's not gonna be a pushback. So what do you guys think? Like that comment section up. I don't see nothing going on. What are y'all doing? I see y'all in the building. Do y'all agree or disagree? Do you think what he's saying is foolishness, or you're like, hell yeah, he hit that on the nail? That's exactly what I'm talking about, brother. Preacher on, preacher. So y'all hit that comment section up. Let me know what you guys feel. Are y'all agreeing with what he's saying? Now I got one more question, and we're gonna move to the red pill.
Okay.
What about women that call themselves high value women, and should they also have that same liberty to be able to, they're high value? Like, let's say somebody like if Beyonce wasn't married, for example, she's not a married woman. Should she be able to, secularly speaking, and of course you can speak biblically if you want, but secularly speaking, do you think that a high value woman should also be able to exercise those options as well?
Of course not, because men and women are completely different.
So why can a woman do it?
Well, one, we're biologically different. That's one. Then two, what attracts the opposite sex to us is completely different. So let me ask you this, and I'll answer the question. What would make a woman or a modern woman high value in her eyes?
In her eyes,
yes.
She makes a lot of money. She's career driven. She has a lot of ambition, extremely attractive, things like that, basically.
Okay. The only thing you said that a man's attracted to is the last one. She's attractive.
Extremely attractive.
That's it. Her money, her career, her education, a high value person could not care less about that. Could not care less about it. That does not draw the man to her. So in his mind, how's that high value? I don't want your money. I don't care about your education. I don't care about any of that. Now, a lot of women get offended and they'll be like, well, what do you mean that doesn't matter? Okay, you as a person, that matters to you, and that's fine. Kudos, great, good. Does it matter to me in a relationship? No. It does nothing. It does absolutely nothing. And that's not what draws a man to a woman. It's just not.
In her eyes, she's high value. But in a man's eyes, you would say that that's not high value. So
not at all.
What would be, okay, so just the answer, you're saying that no, even if she was considered high value, you're saying she shouldn't be exercising her options or sleeping around. She don't have that same liberty.
Heck no. Matter of fact, that will drop her value right there. It drops her value. Now because right now she's measuring herself like a man. Let me go ahead and get these accomplishments. Everything that they like in a man, talking about a modern woman, everything they like in a man, that's what they try to achieve. They try to mirror that. That doesn't work that way. Now,
if I say that's biased though, that a man that's high value is able to exercise his options. I know you broke down, the difference with Hebrew but we're talking about high value men right now.
Sure.
So a high value man is able to exercise those options, but the high value woman isn't. Don't you think that's kind of biased?
No, I don't, because see, when a woman has a high body count, when her body count goes up, shoots through the roof or whatever, and the man, in the eyes of a man, her value goes down, because the man is the customer. He's the customer. He's the buyer. He's the one who says, yes, I want to marry this woman. He's the buyer. So when her body count goes up, her value goes down in his eyes. Okay, a guy, their cost benefits analysis, right? Analysts, they will look at a situation. They're going to be like, okay, is this woman wife material? Is she recreational use only, or just avoid her altogether? That's what they do. That's what men do, right? So if she has this high body count, there's no purity there. There's no exclusivity there or anything like that, right? So that does not attract a man to that woman. It just doesn't. Now, the opposite is true for a woman attracted to a man. If I say, okay, I have an education, I make a 6-figure or a 7-figure income. I'm strong, I'm independent, I'm a leader. I got, I employ a lot of people, stuff like that. I have a certain amount of status. I got 1 million followers and all that. All that's, guess what? That attracts the woman. That attracts the woman. That doesn't attract the man. That's not what the man wants. He doesn't care about that. Okay, so that's why it's different. They can do the same thing. They're entitled to the equal opportunity. They can do that, but they're not entitled to the equal outcome. They're not going to get the same result.
Based off the man's point of view, which is
correct,
what we're trying to get. So that's why you're saying, based off the way men view it,
yes,
this is where you're coming from with that. Now, what do you say about this question we got right here on the screen? It says they say they disagree with you. It's like mixing worldly ideology with a biblical way of life. Even in the Bible, polygyny seems to cause issues. So I'm thinking that Jess Reese is talking about what you spoke on earlier about the high value Hebrew does have the liberty to do that if he chooses, but he has to do it more in a committed way. Actually having, being with her and taking care of her, things of that nature. And this person is saying, nah, you mixing those two, and even the Bible shows that there were problems with that type of lifestyle. And I'm thinking they're probably going with some of the relationships, like the 2 sisters, how they were bickering with each other and things like that. And even Abraham, when he had Hagar and Sarah, how they had issues. So I'm assuming that's where that's coming from. So what do you say to that?
Okay, first of all, I'm going to thank Jess Reese for that question, because that is a fair hot seat question. However, I am going to push back. Just Reese, I'm sorry, you're wrong. If you said, okay, in the Bible, even these polygyny cause issues. Okay, so if I can point out relationships in the Bible that were monogamous and they had issues, then would you blame monogamy as the problem for the issue? If I said Ananias and Sapphira, New Testament, these are married couple or whatever, and they both died, New Testament, can I blame that on monogamy? So the problems that you are seeking, the problems that you're talking about or trying to point out, really had nothing to do with the institution of polygyny or the institution of marriage. If you're talking about the case of Sarah gave Hagar. Okay, so that just happened just that way. Okay, if you're talking about the case of Jacob, he made a deal for Rachel, got tricked, and ended up with Leah, and then later got Rachel, and then both of them gave both of their handmaids to him. Okay, so it just happens that way. Oh, and then when you go to Ruth, and when she finally marries Boaz, they give them the blessings of Rachel and Leah. If it's such a bad thing, then why are they giving the blessings of Rachel and Leah? Why are they saying that's a good thing? Because it has nothing to do with the institution of it. And then my final point, because I don't want to belabor it, then why is it nowhere in the Bible prohibited, outlawed? In fact, it's regulated. Okay, if a man takes another wife, that kind of thing, So why is it not outlawed? That kind of case. So yeah, it's not about the institution of it. And if we look at marriage today in our modern society, we already know more than half of them are going to end up in divorce. So is marriage bad? You're calling polygyny bad. Is marriage bad? That has an issue. There's a lot of monogamous marriages going on right now, and they're ending and they're failing. Why not call monogamy bad? They're too quick to want to call polygyny bad because of some bias or something like that, or they just get triggered by it. So no, I don't think. And then the mixing. The other one. the mixing of the two worldviews. There is no mixing. She asked the question of, high value men exercise their options, meaning they sleep around with multiple women. And she said, and the host, Christina said, what is the difference? And I said, the difference is that high value Hebrews, some men believe in polygyny, and that's how they exercise their options. They go take another wife. That's how I answer that.
Okay. All right. So we're going to move on now. If you guys want to hit some more questions up about the high value, because that's what I was basically trying to get into, this whole high value Hebrew, what makes you a high value Hebrew, and, what rules do you play by, and why can't women who call themselves high value Hebrews play by them same rules? If you guys agree or disagree with whatever was said, or if you got some more questions or pushback on that, definitely it's your time to go. If not, we're going to move on to Red Pill. And remember, in about like another 20 minutes, we're going to actually put the link in the chat. And I want you, come on, you guys, I want y'all to come on up here and pose your questions to him. He's here for it. Like, everybody always on the behind the computer, but this is your opportunity face to face to come in and bring him the smoke. He here for the smoke, y'all. So now Red Pill. Now you did a debate recently. So everybody, y'all, I'm doing some promotional right now. Y'all go check out that debate, Red Pill, Blue Pill with High Value Hebrew and Zadok the God Hop. Y'all go ahead and go on to my channel and go to my lives and, Red Pill versus Blue Pill, like I said, with High Value Hebrew and Zadok the God Hop. He also has a channel as well. So you could definitely go on YouTube and Facebook and check him out. He does music, teaching. He has a lot of stuff he does over there. So y'all definitely go check out Zadok the God Hop.
Shout out to Zadok.
Yeah, YouTube and Facebook. So y'all recently did a debate. So what I want to know is, what is Blue Pill? What is Red Pill? And why do you associate more or lean more to the Red Pill side than the Blue Pill side?
Well, the Blue Pill is status quo. The Blue Pill is just really just kind of status quo. It's like what's going on right now. Okay. And as far as Blue Pill, it kind of leans towards the ideology of happy wife, happy life, cheaper to keep her. It's a woman's world. Who runs the world's girls? You can listen to some of the song, all the single ladies, call Tyrone, those kind of all that. You can call Tyrone, Erykah Badu, all the love songs from the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, all the R&B, all that, the crying, the Keith Sweat, the Jodeci's, all that. I like Jodeci, by the way. A lot of the lyrics and things like that, it really caters to the female plight. Okay, it's catering to the female plight. Not accountable to anything. It's it's never their fault for anything like that. Just do whatever it is that the woman wants, you try to make that happen at all costs, right? So that's kind of a Blue Pill kind of thing. Women are the prize. That's kind of a Blue Pill type of thing. Well, the Red Pill is the opposite, where it says the men are the prize. But how the Red Pill started a number of years ago, I can't pinpoint exactly the day it was born or anything like that, but there was a documentary. And if you have apps and things like that, you can actually find it. It's called The Red Pill. It's a documentary. And what it did was really open up the eyes a lot of men, because most of the time men suffer in silence, right? We have a lot of different issues that we go through that the average person does not know. The average woman may not even care. Okay. It started opening up, a lot of the statistics, when it's talking about deletion. When we're talking about deletion, over 90% of deletions are men. Okay. High percentage of men who are work-related deaths, men. Deaths in the military, most of them men. But nobody seems to care about those type of things. Nobody talks about it. Nobody cares. But the men, we aware of it. When a home gets busted up, okay, we hear, deadbeat dads, men abandoning relationships. They just leave, they get women pregnant and they just go, they just shirk their responsibility and all that, right? So that's what we hear all the time. And the Red Pill turns it on its head when we start looking at the numbers and we're like, wait a minute, women are filing for divorce 80% of the time. And the all too familiar refrain, the rebuttal is always, she not leaving for no reason. I beg to differ. I mean, I've seen countless videos and clips of women out of their own mouth reading, saying, well, you know, I mean, he's okay, he's nice, but, you know, he's just not for me. He's just not my person. Was he doing everything right? Is he taking care of the bills? He's taking care of you, taking care of the kids? All yes. But we also know, on top of that, we also know that this society is a very gynocentric, society to where it caters to women. I'll give you an example. Like homelessness and abuse shelters and things like that is built for women. When it comes to public assistance, you know, your WIC, your EBT and all that, mostly women get that. There's no homeless shelters and stuff for men. I think there's one in all of America. Okay. When people start looking it up, you're like, oh, wow. Okay. So if man can't make it, there's not a whole lot of help. We got to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. If a woman can't make it, there is some help. If a man can't pay his child support, he gets to go to jail. If a woman can't pay child support, nothing happens to her. If a man if he's victimized by, if he is the actual biological father of a child, he's going to pay child support. If it's found out that he's not the child and there was paternity fraud, nothing happens to the woman. A man will go to jail for X amount of time for a particular crime, and a woman will go about a third of the time, will serve a third of the time for the exact same crime. So what happens is the red pill kind of exposes that and be like, wait a minute. I thought we were all bad, and you know what's going on? I thought it's the man's fault. It's the man's fault. And men are waking up and saying, no, it's time. We never had a voice. They never had a platform. So a lot of modern women are getting really, really upset. And it's something that men been feeling for a long, long time. They just never had a voice. Look at the 90s and look at the early 2000s. You had your Ricky Lakes and your Sally Jesse Raphaels, and you had your Montels, you had your Jerry Springers, you had your Oprah, you had all these, nothing for men. What do we have today? The View and the Red Table Talk and all these different platforms, mainstream platforms that are geared towards a woman's perspective, period. And the red pill is just a space. And it really, the simple definition is really just being aware of female nature. That's really what it is. Being aware of female nature.
Now, what would you say? So this is where I'm going to throw a little wrench in what you're saying based off of what I'm hearing from a lot of blue pill spaces. So what I'm hearing is that basically what the red pill is doing is trying to accomplish the same thing that the women are, what you say society has been doing from the very beginning. Like you said, you have all of these women shows and women platforms and all of these helpful women can get and all this stuff for women, nothing for men. And now we have something. So what do you say about people that's saying that the red pill community is trying to, in a way, annihilate women to the point where they can't vote, where they don't have any rights, where they don't have any say so, where they're just coming in and saying, shut up, do what I say, and I don't want to hear nothing about it. And actually, we don't even need you. I've even heard Kevin Samuels say this. He said out of his own mouth that we do not need women. All we need you for is to have a baby. And that's it. You serve no other purpose than that for us. So what would your question be for those men that are complaining about that?
Well, it sounds like that's a place said in a blue pill space. Well, what we do need each other to, create and build a family. We do need each other for that. Okay. Neither one can have a family without the other, at least the creation of the family. But what happens a lot of time when men become red pill aware, then they experience something, or they may go to an extreme and they call it red pill rage. Right? They get really upset because the scales fall off their eyes and they're like, wait a minute, and they know that the system is stacked against them. They know that, hey, if they go to court, they know that there's no fault divorce. They know that, hey, chances are over 90% of the time you're going to lose. Okay. 93% of the time you're going to lose your kids. Okay. And you're going to lose half your assets. You're going to pay child support. You're going to pay alimony, depending on the state that you're in, things like that. And so it starts to get overwhelming. And then they start getting very, very upset. Or sometimes they reflect on their life and they're like, wait a minute. So this is why she left, that type of thing. Maybe she monkey branched somewhere else. Maybe she felt like, hey, I can do better, or whatever reason she left the relationship. And so what happens is a lot of guys will experience red pill rage. Now, to address what you were just saying with Kevin Samuel, we just don't need you. In the context, he's talking about we don't need them for survival. The world will just keep going. Like, for instance, if you wipe out all the women right now, okay, then the men will live until they die naturally, period. But if you wipe out all the men, then the women will die suddenly. Not that day, but they will die very quickly. Why? Because men control and run the infrastructure, and they do the jobs that women don't want to do. They don't want to be in the sewers making sure that you can flush the toilet. Women don't want those kind of jobs. They don't want to be on an oil rig out in the middle of the sea, in an ocean somewhere for 8, 9, 10 months or a year. They don't want to do those jobs. They don't want to be high up, on an electrical pole doing those type of things. Now, notice I'm talking about infrastructure. Women don't like those jobs. Now, if you ask me, can they do them? Sure, they can do them, but they don't like them. They don't like those jobs. It's very laborious, okay? It's very grueling. It's very grinding. They don't want to do those type of jobs for the most part, because someone's going to pop up and say, oh, well, yeah, I know a woman and she works on an oil rig. Okay, yeah, but it's minute, okay? It's a minute, very minute numbers. And these are things you can look up. Look at those industries, look at those infrastructures. They don't want to do it. So what he's saying is that the infrastructure would collapse if all the men disappeared. The infrastructure would collapse because the women are not contributing to the infrastructure to a large enough degree to make a significant dent if they disappeared. But the men, since they are doing most of the infrastructure and women are not doing it, if men disappeared, boom, gone. Okay, let's go back to the Thanos snap. Boom, the men are gone. Women are here. Who's gonna go jump in the sewer? Who's gonna get on the telephone pole? You see what I'm saying? Who's gonna do the waste management? Who's gonna go to the water treatment plant? Which of the women are gonna step up and do those things? That's what he means by that.
The dykes.
Oh, you're gonna have to. You're gonna have to.
Dykes are gonna have to do it, and I don't know if they even get. So your position is that what he said was basically taken out of context, and that he was talking about in reference of as far as like survival, but he's not talking about like in general as far as like a family and a relationship and things like that. So correct. Okay, now you recently, like I said, did a debate, red pill versus blue pill, you and Zadok the God Hop, and I'm bringing that up again because a lot of people in the blue pill space say that red pill platforms do not. I ain't gonna say Zadok said it. Zadok actually said hardly. He didn't say they don't do it. He said hardly do they hold men accountable. Like they are not holding men accountable at all. And I'm not gonna say that I agree or disagree, but what I am gonna say is when I go on Media Tutorial, when I go on O'Shea Do Jackson, when I go on even your platform, am I gonna say there's no content out there where you guys are actually holding men accountable? No, I think you did one recently where you were telling men, hey, increase your value. I saw that recently. So I am going to say it's there. Right. But I got to admit, when I'm on O'Shea and Media, I hardly ever do I see them truly pointing out what men need to start doing differently and some changes they need to make to be what you would say and other brothers say a better version of themselves. So what do you say to the blue pill community that says you guys are not holding your men accountable at all? It's men out there that are having kids and not taking care of them, abandoning their families, have 4, 5, 6 baby mamas, like all this stuff is going on, staying at their mama's house, and you guys are not talking about it. Even women that are losing their lives. There's a lot of melanated sisters in America alone, and in other places, in some places in Africa, they're saying women there are dying like, I think they said like once every few minutes they're losing a sister from a man that's in a relationship with the woman. I recently found that out. So what would you say about, are these brothers holding these men accountable? Or are these men out here just running around all willy-nilly and the red pill community is just bashing the women and saying they need to do better, they need to do this, they need to do that?
Well, that's a good question. I don't believe all that is exclusively true, because if you look at like, for instance, you said the guys, in Africa and some of the places and stuff like that, deleting women and all that. How do we know their allegiance? Are all these men red pill? All these men blue pill? We don't know. So those numbers have to be spread around there. And number two, no, I don't know any guy defending someone who is going to delete a woman. Period. I just don't. Now, also, I would say that they may want to look at some of the content in its entirety. Like, for example, a lot of people, they'll come against Kevin Samuel, and a lot of time he would ask him, he say, okay, how long you been watching my content? Or did you watch an entire show from front to back? So what's happening is that they're looking at sound bites, they're looking at clips, they're looking at things like that instead of watching the long chain episode, right? If you look at something like Fresh and Fit, right? He comes off pretty Myron, he comes out pretty harsh sometimes. He comes out pretty harsh. But if you look at the entire podcast, he definitely holds men accountable. If you listen to the entire, like the first 3 years Kevin Samuel was around, when he did not address women whatsoever, for 3 years he held men accountable. That's it. Still on his channel. You can go look at it. He didn't even talk to women. Didn't even talk to them. Just talk to men. And the men would call him and they say, hey, what can I do? I need to do this. And he'll ask them, well, what are you doing? Oh, well, I don't got a real job yet, but I'm really trying to get a woman, this and that. I'm in my mom's basement, da. He's like, no, you don't need a woman right now. You don't need to even think about that right now. You need to get a job. You need to get going, right? You listen to Andrew Tate, same thing. He said, don't be fat. Don't be out of shape. Don't be out of shape. Do something. Go make money. Go build some assets. Build yourself up. Become a top G first. Become something. Make something of yourself. You look at, like Rollo Tomasi. You look at, Myron Gaines over there and all that. They say, okay, use your 20s. Tell men, use your 20s to build yourself. You're nobody. You're nothing. You don't have enough life experience. Don't do anything. These are things that I've seen them say it. I've heard them say it. These are the things I'm saying. So they're all holding them accountable. Like they'll tell you suck. The way they go at men is way harsher than how they go at women. What's shocking to women is that they never heard it before. They never heard, no, you're not a 10. I know all of you ladies think you're a 10, but you're not a 10. So that hurts their feelings. They get triggered. But men, they already, hey, dude, you're fat. You're bald. You got nothing. You have nothing going for yourself. Go work out. Go build something. Go get an extra income. Go start a business. They tell them that all the time. That's all I see in all these spaces when you listen, to the whole thing. So I think some of the women who feel like, oh, these men are not held accountable. Also, we can't just like I differentiate women. I don't group all women in one category. A lot of times I break it down to two, and I just say modern woman or a traditional woman. Okay, so that's what I'm talking about. So a lot of the issues come from that I push back on, are modern women. But I don't put everyone in one simple category. Although I do use stats and statistics, and we have to speak in generalizations. Otherwise, we can't talk to every individual person on the planet. It's not possible. So we have to use general.
So your position is that they're only looking at small little sound bites and the things that they want to look at. But if they were to look at the fullness of what these people are presenting, you're saying that is there. So you believe there's a good balance between in the red pill community, and then we'll move on to Passport Bros. In the red pill community, you would say that you believe that the majority, so you let me know yes or no, the majority of these content creators, the big name ones, the Fresh and Fit, the O'Shea Do Jackson, the Media Tutorial, and I'm saying their names because when you're in the limelight, you're somewhat of a representation for the community, whether you want to accept it or not. If you identify as red pill, these content creators that are in the front row are going to be a big representation of what you're saying to us today. So are you saying that you believe that these content creators that I name and other ones like them have a good balance in teaching and showing and holding both women and male accountable on their platforms?
To answer your question shortly, yes. Now, if I can just take 30 seconds and just kind of expound it a little bit. Okay. I'm saying yes to the ones that I know, like all the ones you name, I know those guys, right? Now, I'm pushing back a little bit is because I'm not saying, oh, it's 50-50, meaning they deal with men 50% of the time and holding them accountable, and then they deal with women 50% of the time and hold them accountable. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that them holding men accountable is present in their content. It is there. It is present. It's there. It's just that men don't push back a lot. Men don't say, oh, well, no, I don't need to work out, or I don't need to be the best version of myself. I don't need to do it. I'm fine the way I am. I'm a perfect 10. Men don't do that. They just don't argue with it. They don't push back.
So your position is like they don't push back like that. So it's not going to be something that you have to continue to beat up, like beating the dead horse. You don't have to keep beating it upside their head because you don't have a large, at least the majority of men that are gonna say like the things you said. I don't need to lose weight. I don't need to get a better job. I don't need to live out of mama's basement. And because of that, it doesn't need an overwhelming presence, like you said, at least 50-50.
Exactly.
That's your position. That was gonna be my next question too. Do you think that it should be 50-50? Because I don't, to be honest with you, I don't think that a platform should do things 50-50.
Either.
I don't think so, because that might not be your calling or your, like if for instance, if I decide to do something on Let's Talk Podcast that has to do with being a better wife, seeing that I am a wife and I've been doing it for over a decade. And I'm like, you know what? I want to do a series about that, talking to women. If someone was to come on and say, that's not fair, you never do anything about talking about the husband being better. It's like, I don't want to. Do your own podcast. Like, why are you
or being single? You always talk about being married. Why don't you talk about being single? 50-50.
Yeah, exactly. Like, how you can do a podcast, you can make one. It's free. Go out there, the stream, and you talk about the husbands, but don't try to force me to talk about something that I don't want to talk about. I talk about what I want to talk about. So I understand what you're saying, but I had to bring those questions because this is what the communities are saying. Listen, I see you guys in that chat. I don't see it moving. What's going on, y'all? Come on now. Do y'all agree with what he's saying? This is a hot seat. What the heck is going on? What y'all
it's not that hot right now.
Like, it's not that hot. Like, I'm doing all the heating. Like, I'm trying to cook it up. Like, I'm gonna need y'all to in that comment section, and let's go. Jess Reese, come on, King. Where y'all at? I know y'all in there. Come on now, y'all agree? Come on, Set on Fire Ministry. Let's go, let's go, let's go. What y'all feeling? Kevin J.
You know what? Since they're not bringing the heat, I'm gonna go ahead and address Reese just for a second. I'm gonna take just like 30 seconds, right?
Which
for
one?
Reese.
Oh, she did put some more stuff in here. Yeah, she did.
Yeah, she said, no one can blame that on monogamy. Ananias and Fire, wife sin by lying to the Holy Ghost. That's out of context. Okay, time out. 1 second. I wasn't taking it out of context. My point was it had nothing to do with monogamy. That's my point. So the issues that you talk about with polygyny, it had nothing to do with polygyny. Just almost nothing had to do with polygyny. I'll give you an example. When we know David did wrong because he slept with Uriah's wife, right? And he already had wives. And in 2 Samuel, 12, he talked about, hey, you know what? Through Nathan the prophet, he said that, you slept with Uriah's wife. I'm paraphrasing, guys. You slept with Uriah's wife. I gave you your master's house. I gave you his wives. And if that had not been enough, I would have given you more. So how could the problem be polygyny when the Most High himself said, I would have given you more had you wanted? Where you messed up is that you wanted another man's wife. So I'm not taking it out of context. I'm saying the issues that you guys find has nothing to do with polygyny. Then she said, oh, well, Sarah, sent her away and all that. Still, again, that doesn't mean that, Sarah, because she said, well, she had something strong to say. Okay, first of all, the Most High said, okay, yeah, go ahead and send her away. And then later, you didn't say where Hagar was sent back. Okay, it was sent back to her mistress in her master's house. But you didn't mention that part. But that's okay. I didn't want to get all into that. But I'm just saying, my point was, people want to blame polygyny when whatever the issue was had nothing to do with polygyny. Polygyny is just an institution. If there's an issue, the issue is with the people within the institution. We can move on.
All right. Now, what about secular then? Since we're going to do that, and just Reese, if you have any more questions, go ahead, throw it in there, and we'll definitely address it. But what would you say about the secular point? Because we're talking about high value Hebrews, right? And this whole biblical, like, okay, God told me to do this, do that, and they try to stand on that line, like they have an authority over them. What about high value men who don't have that reverence and respect, but yet they go and dibble and dabble and have multiple relationships? Do you believe that can be a recipe for disaster, not having that foundation, that stern foundation that's holding them accountable to certain things they shouldn't and should do when regarding to having multiple relationships?
Well, if I'm understanding you clearly, that's precisely why I was doing, high value Hebrew, because it has to have that moral component to it, right? The high value man, they've been doing, what they want to do. It doesn't matter. Like, okay, I'll give you an example. Since we're talking about secular, I'll give you an example where most people don't like it, but he's actually not doing anything wrong. Okay, and that is Nick Cannon.
Oh, I knew you were going to go there. I knew you were going to go there.
Exactly. Think about this. Think about this. If we look at some of the details, because this guy basically He's saying, think about this, consider it. He's saying, okay, first of all, I want to have a lot of children from everywhere, okay? And he's letting them know, he's telling them up front, we know that none of this is a secret to any of the women he's dealing with right now, right?
Yeah, they know.
And he's saying, you have my baby, right? He's saying, you have my baby, I'll take care of you. I'll look after you, I'll take care of you, take care of the baby, da da da. They're in a relationship. They don't deal with anybody else. They don't deal with any other men according to the deal that they got set up, according to that. Now, if they go cheating, that's different. But according to the deal that they have set up, they don't deal with any other men. He takes care of them. So whether or not you put a label on it, what exactly is he doing wrong? Morally, nothing.
Yeah,
he's taking responsibility.
He already told
responsibility for him.
Yeah, he already told them what he was planning on, what he was going to do, and they agreed to it.
Exactly. He's upfront, honest, and keeping his word. You have this baby for me. I'm gonna take care of you, and I'm gonna take care of the baby. No different than Hebrew. No different.
All right.
We'll say, yeah, we'll say, hey, this is my wife or concubine or whatever the case may be. But it just, in other words, it's a relationship. That's all it is. So Nick Cannon has relationships. He has like 8 or 9 relationships. Period. So he's doing nothing wrong biblically.
All right. So let's move on to Passport Bros. So again, you guys light up that chat. Where y'all at? I see y'all in there. Hit that like, share. And True Talk Radio, I see you putting fire emojis up. I don't see nothing else. Like, where you at? What you got to say? You better hit that link. Got any questions? Let's get it. Now, we got Passport Bros, right? So now the Passport Bros. Now, I gotta switch my hats because I gotta bring what the people are talking about, and then you guys hit the link. Come on up after this Passport Bros. If y'all got any questions about high value red pill or Passport Bros, let's hear it or put it in the chat. Now, Passport Bros. What is a Passport Bro?
Okay.
And I guess what I want to say is Passport Bros right now are getting a bad flack, or at least getting a bad image as far as the melanated community goes, especially from the women that are basically saying that you got to be quite pathetic and you really got to have a lot of issues. If all these women in the United States, you got to go across the water just to find you a wife. Like, that makes no sense. And the only reason you're doing it is because those women are illiterate, they're stupid, they can't barely speak English, they have no education, they're extremely submissive because they're just looking for somebody to take care of them. But American women, we bad bees, and we're independent, and we're not gonna let no man just keep us home like a slave, cooking and cleaning and having his babies. And that's why y'all got to go travel, and that's why you guys are pathetic. So what do you say about women that are saying that? First was a Passport Bros, and then what are you saying about women that are saying that in the States?
Okay, so one, I think that's classic projection. I think they understand the implications of men leaving. They understand that. They understand that it means that they're not good enough. Now, would they ever admit that? Of course not. And they're not meeting the man's preference. What I mean by that, not good enough, what I mean is that they're not meeting the man's preference, right? So, for example, earlier today, I was looking at a clip, and it was a dating show, and there's a woman on there. She was 9 months pregnant on a dating show. 9 months pregnant on a dating show. And the guy, and I'll send you the clip. And the guy, because you know you can't make this stuff up. You cannot make this stuff up. So the host asked, okay, and this one wasn't Kendra G. But the host asked the guy, he's listening to her and everything. She's 9 months pregnant. She said, hey, I'm a single mom, da-da-da. And the host, and to be fair, she said, well, why are you on a dating show? I don't say, oh, a friend of mine told me about it, da-da-da, and I thought I'd check it out and all this other stuff. 9 months pregnant. And then so the host asked the gentleman, said, would you want to date with her? Or, he's like, respectfully, no, I'm going to have to decline. So I said all that to say this. That's what Passport Bros, is about. They have certain preferences, okay? Kevin Samuels had, he pointed out some of those preferences, right? Feminine, fit, friendly, cooperative, and the Hebrew would be like submissive, things like that, right? So if you cannot find it here, see, they want to blame it and say, oh, well, it's guys being rejected. They're the cast off. There's the castaways. They're broke bums. They're dusty. Then why are you upset? Then why all the flack? then why are you mad? If these are the guys you don't want, then why are you mad? Why are you saying anything? You would just simply ignore them. But it's not that, because Passport Bro is actually someone who's upwardly mobile. If you travel the world and you're going to be there for 2, 3 weeks, a month, 3 months, you can't be broke. Okay. Now, one little quick aside is that people got to realize there are going to be some people who call themselves Passport Bros because they just like the movement and they're just kind of jumping on. And so when something bad happens, oh, Passport Bro got stranded over here in this other country. Passport Bro got robbed over here. It doesn't mean that they're Passport Bros. There are people who say they're Christians and they're not. There are people who say they're Hebrews and they're not. There are people who say and call themselves anything, right? And they're not. So that's just people want to kick mud on the movement. But let's just stick back to the to what we're talking about here. It's not that, oh, well, they're broke and they're pathetic and all. No, it's not that. It's not that at all. It's just that they look at the landscape, they look at the dating market, and they don't see what they want. They want someone who's feminine. The average woman is what, 170 pounds overweight. She's overweight, 170 pounds or more, right? They all believe that they're 9s and 10, 8, 9s and 10s. They tell you that they don't need you, okay? And men, we live on purpose. We strive on purpose. When we go to work and we bust our butt or whatever, we're thinking in our head, we have a family at home that needs us. I want to quit this job. I hate this job, but my wife and children need me, right? So when you say, oh, well, I don't need you. Okay, fine. You don't need me. I'm strong. I'm independent. Okay, then I have no place in your life. But if I come into your life, you want me to pay for everything. So it's kind of a contradiction. It just kind of throws guys off, like, what the heck is going on? So
but would you say that, because I've heard this too, so I'm just bringing you what I'm hearing, right?
Sure.
What about them saying that the problem is you? Because your mentality, the way that you think. If all these women are saying that all the same thing, and to the point where you gotta leave to go find somebody, is maybe the way you're thinking is wrong. Stop being focused on how she looked. Who cares? Okay, she got weight on her, so like that's the reason why you're not gonna pursue her. Oh, okay, because she's independent. Well, she had to be independent because of her circumstances. She didn't have a father in the home. She doesn't know what it's like to have male authority figures. She doesn't know what it's like to have a head over her. So what would you say about women that are saying that? If all of us are saying this and we're yelling it at the top of our tongue, about our lungs, why do you feel like you got to leave? Why can't you realize that you are the problem? Change the way you perceive things. Stop trying to find women that are fit, friendly, and feminine. That you're the problem.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, well, let me ask you this. They're saying that men are, it's the way they think. They just change the way they think.
Absolutely. Let me ask you this. Do women have preferences?
Yes, we do.
Is it okay that a woman have preferences?
Yes, it is.
Can you name, you don't have to name everything, but could you name a few of those preferences, please?
Okay, so we want a man that has money. We want a man that can financially take care of us. Like, we don't want to have to work. If we work, it's because we want to work. We don't want to have to work. We want a good-looking man. Like, we want him tall. We like him real tall. We don't like them short. We'll mess with the short ones, but we don't like the short ones. We like the tall ones. What else? We basically like the 4 6s, okay? The 6 feet, the 6-pack, the 6 inches, all of that, the 6 figures. That's what we want. That's what we like. And we don't like to settle.
Okay. So why is that okay for a woman to have those preferences and not for a man to have his preferences?
Because why can't the reason, and that's what they say. Why? They say because what women are asking for is what men were made to do. Provide, protect, and lead. And you have to be strong. You have to be tall. You have to have money. How are you going to provide, protect, and lead if you don't have that? But what men are asking women to have has nothing to do with what a woman's position and role is.
So a woman shouldn't be in shape.
This is what they're saying. I think we should be in shape. This is what
no, I'm doing the pushback. So women don't have to be in shape, but they want a guy with a 6-pack, so he's in shape.
Yes, they want the guy with the 6-pack in shape because the woman's duties as a wife has nothing to do with her being in shape.
Okay, but she prefers a man that's in shape, so he can't prefer a woman that's in shape. That makes no sense. That's a contradiction.
He can prefer it, but he shouldn't have to go over the waters to get it.
That doesn't make any sense.
That's what they're saying. They're
No,
saying,
no, no, no. If the fish are not biting here, you go somewhere else to where the fish are biting. If you can't find what you want here, you go somewhere else to get what you want, what you're looking for. Also, some men did not hit the genetic lottery. Okay, less than 15% of men are over 6 feet that are 6 feet. Okay, the numbers drop when you get past 6 feet. So some men can't do anything about that, and yet it's okay for the woman to have those preferences. And then is it not conducive for a woman to be nurturing and feminine and supportive, to even have a family, to even have a husband? So these guys are preferring these things because that has everything to do with her being a wife. That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense to me. And I know you're presenting the other side.
So basically what you're saying is that it's okay for you to have your preferences. It's okay for you not to want to settle.
Yes.
But when I have my preferences and I have the things that I want, to the point
Yes.
where I don't see it here, I'm willing to go find it, that somehow that makes something wrong with me. And you're saying that's basically being biased.
That's basically being biased.
It's good for the goose, but not good for the gander.
Yeah, it makes no sense. It makes no sense for us. And guys, we don't push back. Think about this. Guys don't shame women if they say, hey, I want a man 6 feet, 6 pack, 6 figures, or he's a protector, he's a provider, he's a leader, and all that. Do you hear men saying, why did you need a protector? Why don't you get with a weak man? Why the heck do you need a guy who can protect you? Why you gotta have a guy with money or whatever? Why can't you just stay with a broke guy? Yeah, he's in his mom's basement, butt naked, eating Cheetos, watching porn and playing video games all day. But why don't you give that guy a chance? Okay? There's bums on the street or whatever. They need love. The bums need love too. Why don't you get with one of them? Why you have those? Why you have those preferences? That don't make any doggone sense. Oh, 6-pack. Why you need a guy that's in shape? Why you need? Oh, there's a lot of overweight guys out there. Why don't you get with one of them? Why you got to have those?
Big people need love too.
Okay, big people need love too. Exactly. So
big fellas need rubbing.
Exactly.
Need rubbing too. Okay, it's equal love over here.
Yeah. So guys, we don't make fun of their preferences. It's like, okay, cool. You can have your preferences. I can have my preferences. And on top of that, many of these guys, one, they're not finding what they're looking for, and two, a lot of guys are just being ignored or rejected, or tired of being used. Okay, or tired of being used. They're like, you know what? That's it. The juice isn't worth the squeeze, kind of thing. So that's some of the situations that you have going on out there.
All right. So basically, you're saying that everybody should have a right to their preferences, and we shouldn't just allow women to have them, but men also have a right to their preferences. And if 100%. That's what they're looking for and they can't find it, then it should be okay for them to go over the waters or wherever they need to go to find it. Now, I put the link in the chat. So we got one person up. Okay, Kevin, we're gonna give you about 2 minutes. And if you have a comment or a question, he here for the smoke. Go ahead. The floor is yours, brother.
Hey, what's going on, High Value Hebrew? What's going on?
How's it going?
What's going on, my sister Sid? How you doing?
I'm good. How you doing?
I am good. I'm honestly, I came up because you were talking about the Passport Bros, and I missed your show. I really don't have no smoke for the brother. I actually agree with a lot of things he's saying. Not getting into too much biblically, I do agree with certain things in the chat in terms of Christ bringing out the fact how he pointed at one wife, that type of deal. But I think that's a little bit different than the actual point that he's making. So I won't go there on that. I will say I want to, understand based on your show about the Passport Bros, because I actually worked with somebody who I'm not saying he went over there, but he definitely exercised his preferences, right? So I think that in a community where, me personally, of course, I would like to. I prefer my own black female, right? That's what I prefer. That's who I'm married to right now, right? But I can't get mad at some of the brothers who are exercising that right. I talked to several individuals, young and older guys who are single, and a lot of them do feel like, hey, I have the right to hop on a boat and go where I want to go if I want to do that. Because if they're not seeing, first of all, the dating scene to me is obviously way different than when I was dating. So I actually get that too. You got so many different things involved in who you pick, right? I mean, social media, Instagram, all this stuff it adds into it both negatively and positively, right? So when I first heard about the Passport Bros, the whole assumption that these women they were getting were like docile or whatever, I thought that was insane. And then you get some, I see some of the videos with the kickback. I want to say there was some Asian young ladies. They were coming back strong. Like I speak three different languages. You know what I mean? I make six figures a year. So it's like I think that both sides should be allowed to exercise their right to go wherever they want to go. Now, what I also been seeing is a lot of white males choosing black females. Have we not seen that? Every other commercial I see has mixed families on it, and 9 times out of 10, it's looking like there's a white male with a black female. I've been noticing that. What is the kickback that you're hearing, Christina, or like within from what you're hearing? What is the kickback on black men seeing this? Is it the same kickback that we're getting from the females from the opposite side with the same view?
Nah. Well, I'll let Reed answer that. What do you think? Do you think it's the same?
I no, I don't think it's the same. In fact, I don't see I hadn't seen a video, read an article, a book, or nothing where black men are upset that sisters go with white men or men other than black. I haven't seen men actually angry at divestors. I just haven't seen it.
What does that tell us?
It's
What does
very,
that tell us?
it's very acceptable, even when you like me. I'm mixed, right? So I'm biracial, and my husband is Haitian, and I can tell you, when we go places, we still get people that stare at us, roll their eyes at us. And
Really?
it's usually sisters.
Well, you're in Florida, right? You're in
Yeah, I'm in
Florida, right?
Yes, you
Okay,
would.
never mind. That kind
I'm
of
from Florida, yeah. So you would think that it
makes
would be a big
sense.
deal, like, but you won't. I don't see that the other way around. I don't see any Caucasian brothers with melanated sisters, and you see melanated brothers rolling their eyes, getting mad, wanting to fight. Oh, you got my melanated sister. But when I'm with my husband, because most people think I'm Hispanic, and I keep telling them I'm black,
Oh,
think I'm Spanish, they roll their eyes, they try to cut me off. I mean, it's bad. And you would think like I'm here with all these different cultures, Haitian, Jamaican, or white American, so many different stuff in Florida, especially South Florida where I'm at. But no, they're not with it. So that's proof in itself that it is different. When we do it, it seems to be acceptable. When the brother does it, which he's with a black sister, but because I guess I'm mixed and I give off that Hispanic vibe, it looks like he's somewhat dating outside of his race, and he gets
right.
a lot of pushback. He gets a lot of pushback. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, have y'all talked about the actual ratio between men and women, though? It's obviously a lot more women on the planet than there's men. Would everybody agree with that too?
Yep.
Do
Yeah.
you think that's why we don't get the same kickback? Here's what I'm saying. Ultimately, here's what I'm saying. When you have the population the way it was also actually like that in the biblical times. Women has always outnumbered the men. So in that same breath, you're not getting the same response from men because the women outnumber the men by such a number. Now, if the number was closer, I think we probably get a little bit different viewpoint. And this is why I understand some of the women too. They have less options. I'm not saying they don't have any options. I'm just saying they have less options, and less options is going to bring up different emotional points.
Let's pose that question to High Value Hebrew, because this is the hot seat. So High Value Hebrew, would you say that it's a justifiable reaction from women? Think about it. I'm married, so I'm locked in, and he like he ain't going nowhere. Like he's locked in, like he ain't going nowhere. I'm set. I'm set for life, so I'm good. But for the sisters out there that aren't set for life, if I'm seeing my men leaving, right, and then I grew up and I didn't have my daddy, so my daddy wasn't there for me. Now my brothers ain't there for me, and it's so many of us. You don't think that's a justifiable reaction from women?
No, I don't. I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. The reason why, okay, I'll give you an example. If we look at just the dating apps alone, all of them, your Tinder, your Bumbles, your all of them, right? You listen to them. The women converge in on the same guy. So yeah, they already have a smaller number, like Brother Kevin was talking about. But at the same time, they make the numbers even smaller with, like, when you look at the dating apps, they only swipe right Okay, 5% of the time. Tens of thousands of men on the apps, talking about all the dating apps, tens of thousands of men, and they only choose or they converge on the same guys 5% of the time. Where men, they're choosing some of the same women like 40% of the time. It is the women who have these loaded DMs, right? With people messaging them left and right. Men are pursuing these women, and the men are getting rejected, period. So they're shrinking the numbers themselves. Then let's add in their preferences. 6-figure income, 15%. Over 6 feet, less than 15%. You see what I'm saying? The six-pack, not everybody has a six-pack. Okay, I mean, they are shrinking enough. So no, it's not justified because they're picking it. That is their choice. They're picking it. So no, it's not a justifiable outrage.
All right, so now let's get to Tyleria, and then we're gonna get to Jess Reese because she has another comment, and I want you to address it. It's a good one, but first we got to get to Tyleria. This is the hot seat, girl. Come on, let's go. What you got to pose to? And then we'll get to you, Akeem. What you got to pose to the high value Hebrew? Let's go. The floor is yours. Your mic is muted, so you got to unmute your mic, Tyleria. All right, so try to figure that out. Once you figure that out, for now, we'll go to Akeem, and then we're going to get to Jess Reese. So Akeem, this is the hot seat. What you got? You got a comment, question? The floor is yours.
You're muted, Hakeem. You're muted.
Yeah, shalom, family. No, I was just gonna ask on here the question I posed in the chat. It limited me. It said I couldn't put as many characters as I wanted to. I was like, God dang it, I'm gonna share it, slow it down. But basically, what I was saying was, my question was for the sisters who have an issue with what seems to be this double standard, and regarding polygyny. They have an issue with polygyny, but it doesn't seem like they have an issue with serial fornication, serial soul ties, or serial making babies, right? You can see a group of women, and everybody has seen this, so we can talk about the majority, or we can talk about them little outliers that's been thrown at brother, this brother for this whole time. I've seen this brother for a whole month defend the majority instead of these little outliers. People coming up, well, my second cousin twice removed on my daddy's side said, you know, but you know, you'll see a group of sisters, all of them single parents. Some of them have multiple kids, some of them just have one kid, and they come together, and it's like a culture of acceptance. But when you talk about the other side, so what I'm talking about, it seems like it's an issue. How is it a problem with one, but not a problem with the other?
So what about that, Reed? How's it a problem with one and not the other? If you had to answer, to answer that,
you know, I just think I think they're being biased. I think I don't think it's fair, you know, whatsoever. If I'm understanding the brother's question, if I'm understanding Brother Hakeem, you know, if they're saying, hey, you know, they're okay. It's funny because it's like if I said I got married, say 3 times, right? I've been married 3 times, but I got married, then I got divorced. I got married, got divorced, and you can even throw in children. And I take care of all my children. I happily take care of all my children and all this. Hardly anyone would bat an eye. Hardly anybody would bat an eye. But if I said, okay, well, I take care of all 3 of the women at the same time, they're all my wife. Oh, people go crazy. They lose their mind. But you're okay with the serial monogamy, but you're not okay with polygyny, which is weird. But it flies in the face. Like, for example, pick a celebrity, pick a superstar, a real legitimate superstar. And he comes off the stage from performing, and he can have 30 women backstage waiting for him, right? And he said, okay, you know what? I'm going to have an after party, and I want all y'all with me. And they're all going to go for it. They're all going to go because why? His status is so high, then monogamy is out the window. And he can be with them physically that night. And guys, as a side note, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just giving a scenario. He can be with them physically that night, all of them, because it's out the door. So that monogamy stuff is out the freaking door. A guy with a high enough status, okay, and let's say he's a celebrity, he's a superstar or something like that. He can say, you know what? You can come hang out with me, but you need to bring a friend. You need to bring a friend too. I want you and 2 of your friends. What do you think they're going to do? They're going to go, girl, we can go be with this superstar. He's going to go ahead and take us out. We're going to do this, that, and all that's out the window. And it kind of goes back to that saying that, you know, that women break rules for alphas and make rules for betas. But go ahead.
So now we have Jess Reese. She did a two-part like comment sort of thing. I think it's regarding what I said about when Kevin J came up and said, "Are we seeing that from the other side from women as far as being upset or someone going abroad to another race or culture or whatever? Are we seeing that from the other side?" And I said, I've experienced it from women because of the way how I look, and a majority of it is melanated sisters that give me they be giving me the smoke, man. It happened to me recently, and it wasn't just relationship wise. I was wearing like a African dashiki, going to pick my kids up, and two sisters rolling their eyes at me. One of them kept staring at me, fixing up her face like this, watching me every move I make, like that. And when my daughter came out and hugged me, and she doesn't look Hispanic like me, or she's not even light skinned, she's dark skinned. One of them went like this, oh, and then the other one was still shaking her head like this, to the point where my daughter even noticed it, and she was like, "Mom, why are they looking at you like that?" And she even put it together herself, and she was like, "Oh, it's probably because what you're wearing." That's what she said. So even she realized it. Now, this is her comment. I got it on the screen. Do you see it?
Yeah, I see it.
Part, and what would your response be to that? She's saying that it seems like it's more of a colorist issue. It's not so much as far as like, I guess, dating outside of race or any type of race thing. She doesn't feel that that's the issue. She thinks it's like a colorist thing. She says that she feels that the community needs to heal, and that's what we need. But the red pill and the blue pill, she feels like that it just brings further division. And she goes on to say that that colorism may be the women looking at you feel some type of way about the lighter skinned women due to deep-seated hurt and self-hate. So what she's saying is, really all that comes from is the self-hate and, light-skinned or whatever, and that it really doesn't have probably much to do with the whole fact that, okay, this brother is potentially dating outside of his race. And then, of course, the two-part question or comment she made about the red pill and blue pill dividing us as a people because you need to choose one, and that's all it's causing. And when we really just need to heal instead of trying to choose sides.
Right. To tackle it piece by piece, maybe in your case, in your example, maybe in that instance, I think it was probably colorism in that instance, I think. But I think, but on a larger scale, it's race. It's a race thing. If someone, okay, if a sister saw me dating an Asian woman or a Russian woman or in some cases a Latina woman or something like that, they're gonna be upset. It's just that simple. And that's not colorist. That woman is a completely different race. They're gonna be upset. And I think they understand. I think they understand the implications of that. I think they understand exactly what that means. Now, I do agree with Reese when she said that that the community needs healing, and and then there's a big divide and all that. I do agree with that. And people do choose sides, but I think sometimes that is necessary. I think it's sometimes necessary, unfortunately, because we're not going to come to the table and see things the same way. There's going to be a bunch of pushback. So there's a dividing line. Okay. Here's the thing. If neither side is going to compromise on their preferences, then there's no point. There's no point to try to say, okay, let's go ahead and blend this and all that. It's not going to happen. Guys, what happened is guys have already accepted the fact that women have preferences, and if we don't meet it, then we need to move around. Okay, I'm not 6 feet tall. There's nothing I can do about that. Okay, there's nothing I can do about that if a woman prefers that. So I got to move around. So it's the same thing, with women. If a guy has a preference, then there's really, on some things, there's really not much of a compromise. On some things you can compromise, but other things we can't negotiate.
Yeah, I agree with her. I believe it is the colorism, but I also do know that it's the race too, because I've had women tell me in my face I stole one of their good Haitians and all this stuff. Yeah. So I've had women say that in my face before.
Absolutely.
So I know that it is what she said is true. It does have to do with the colorism, but I believe it also does have to do with the race. I think it's both. Oh, yeah. And I agree with her as well. Like she said, the healing part, we definitely need healing. And that was part of the reason why I started Let's Talk Podcast, was because we got to come to the table. Like Reed said, no one wants to really come to the table So that's a problem. So that's why I created Let's Talk. That's why Reed is here today. He ready for the smoke because we're not going to be able to come to some type of understanding if everyone just surrounds themselves. Like I have some friends, right? Old friends. All they do is surround themselves with their circle, just their group. They don't see anything outside of that. How are we supposed to come together, heal, do anything if everyone that's around you are people that agree with you? You're not willing to go outside at all or even let somebody in who don't agree with you. How do you expect to grow? How do you expect to make a change? How do you expect to reach people? It just is not, you're going to be so limited to what you'll be able to do. So sometimes I do feel like the red pill, blue pill does somewhat cause further division. I do feel like that to a extent, but I understand it's necessary because before red pill started coming in, you know, the ideas were always there, but it was never as big as the movement it is. Those men still felt like that. They were there. Their voices weren't heard. They still felt like that. So imagine young boys coming up that are relating to these things like, oh my goodness, I do feel like that. I do go through that. And they have no one to talk to because most men don't talk to people. Most men don't express what they're going through and their emotion. That's why most of them delete themselves. It's a lot going on. And then they don't have the help too. They don't have the free this and the free that and all this stuff too. So it's kind of like, you know, they finally have a space where they feel like I belong. So I don't think that should be taken away from them. But at the same time, I totally understand what she's saying. It does seem like it is causing somewhat of more of a division, but I think it only happens when we box ourselves in. So see, Reed is associated with the red pill community, but he's on a platform saying, I'm here for the smoke. Yeah. So that means let's go, let's talk. What are the issues? What's your points? Bring it to me. He's not just circling himself around red pill people that always gonna say, yeah, Reed, that's a good point. You right on that, brother. Yeah. He's willing to come on a live where he don't have no time to write it down, think about it. He's willing to come on a live and say, okay, this is my answer. This is my response. And this is not easy for somebody. And I don't think I've been that easy. I feel like I've been trying to really give him some hard-hitting questions that people have. So since I don't see anybody else hitting the link, y'all, come on now. I'm thinking what we're going to do is I want to see, do you want to give Kevin, Jay, or Akeem one more chance to just come in and share any more comments or questions, or you just want to move on to the closing? It's up to you.
No, actually, I'm gonna let both of them say something because they may have something else they want to add. So let's add both of them and give them one at a time. Let them go ahead and say, their final thoughts.
All right. So Kevin J, I want you to give your final thoughts on the conversation tonight. And if you have any comments or questions, the floor is yours.
No, I think another great show, of course. Another quality guest as well. I've heard him before though. He's always giving solid answers. I also seen his debate with the good brother Zadok. Definitely a good debate. I like both sides, of course. And really, I'm gonna be totally honest with you. Right.
Hey, well, Robert.
Hey, my boy said I'm rugged, but I really, there's not too much you can really disagree with because he's coming from a stance that I think a lot of people are talking about. Me personally, now with the Nick Cannon thing, I don't really support what he's doing, but in the same token, he made me kind of think on the other side. Well, wait a minute. If both sides agree, I'm not saying this right now. Now, biblically, we've seen them. We talked about that a little bit. I don't feel Christ is totally behind it because of what he said, the way he pointed back at some things from a biblical standpoint. But from what Mr. Reed is saying, though, if he is putting this out and the women is accepting that, though, all they do is shrug my shoulders, like, hey, both parties agree. You know what I mean? So there's not a whole lot I can say, but I did want to get a little bit more of an understanding of what he felt about the Nick Cannon situation. Is that something that is that something he's opposed to? You know what I mean? Like, are you opposed to that?
Am I opposed to what Nick Cannon is doing?
Yeah, was that something you would do?
Are you opposed with the brother out here planting seeds all over? You get a
And how many sons Ahab had? Like 70 sons Ahab had?
Yeah, yeah. You know, Gideon had many sons. What, 70 sons?
Right. You get your
Yeah.
Gideon on. Are you
Okay.
opposed to that, or are you okay with that?
You opposed to
Okay.
that, brother?
Okay. Now, but what I'm opposed to? What specifically?
Doing what you done, is that something you feel like you would do? Like if you was in that, if you had if you were in the position to do
Mhm,
that,
mhm.
would you be cool with doing exactly what he's doing?
From a biblical perspective,
That, that,
he's not doing anything wrong. If he has a relationship with these women, he's saying, okay, you're my girl. I want you to have my children, and I'll take care of you. How's that different than a
no, but
marriage?
would you do it though? The question is, would you do it? Like if you were able to do it, would you do it?
Glad to
No,
me.
you talking about personally? Would I do it?
And
If
Yeah, would you do it?
would you
okay.
be laying out the seed? You get a seed. You get a seed. Everybody get a seed.
Okay.
And you know, Robert Reed, he fit. You know, he ain't got no lines. He ain't cracked up a nut. You know, like
No.
getting seeds. Line
Okay.
up, ladies. Let's get there.
Okay. To answer your question, so I don't want you to think I'm dodging the question. Would I do it? I have to add a caveat. I have to add one caveat. The caveat is I would do it the biblical way, meaning they would be my wives. So I would do it, but they would be my wives. They wouldn't just be, girlfriends or just kind of, hit and quit kind of thing. I wouldn't do that. But would I have multiple wives and have multiple children and all that? Sure. That doesn't bother me. I would do it.
Oh, so you're not opposed to multiple wives. You're not opposed to that.
No, I'm not.
Okay. Hey, okay. That's what all I had. That's all I had. And that's the honest answer. I couldn't do it personally, but I mean, hey, I could do that. But hey, at least for me, the biblical examples that I see, they didn't go too well. But so for me, I wouldn't do it. But I understand that when I hear brothers say it, and I think it's very hard.
I want him to speak on that. We ain't moving past what you just said.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
We gonna stop right there. You just gotta stop you because we here for the hot seat. We ain't here for the cold seat. We for the hot seat. You said from what I see, it didn't go so well. And Jess Reese, that was her same position. She's like, look, the polygyny, it did not go well. So that's not something we might want to practice. And now you kind of do the same thing. So now we got two people in agreement saying the same thing, Reed. So what you got to say about that? And before we answer, Reed, Kevin J, do you want to give any examples of that? Because you said it don't look like it went so well. You just want them to go ahead and answer.
No. Actually, yeah. If you look at the examples, I mean, obviously Jacob, it's right there in the text. Jacob, hey, it didn't go so hot. You know what I'm saying? I don't recall Moses having more than one wife. If I'm wrong, I could be corrected. But Abraham and Jacob, that was two big examples right there from the jump. Now, in David's case, we know what David did. I don't recall David having such issues. However, that was a little bit different story. But for me, those two examples stick out the most because those are two examples we see first in Israel. Those first two examples is what we see. And those first two examples was like, okay, yeah, I probably wouldn't want to do that. You know what I mean? But that's just what I see. Solomon, I mean, he went down because he had multiple wives and he followed after what they were doing. So one could probably argue that back and forth. But if you got one solid wife, you ain't got to worry about all them different gods if they're doing what you're doing. So I look at it from a little bit different perspective. But the two examples obviously that stick out to me the most is Abraham and Jacob right off the jump.
And by the way, Jess Reese got a bunch of ears up right now, so she ready for you.
I know she's opposing me and all that, but I still like her. I like her energy. She's like, what you gotta say about that? Okay,
yeah, I like
come on, Mr. Hebrew, what you got?
She put
no,
three.
Okay, I'm gonna walk it. I'm gonna use the examples that he used. Okay, so I'm gonna walk it back. He's talking about Solomon. He said Solomon had a bunch of wives and he went astray because he had a bunch of strange wives and all that. Okay, so my response to that would be, what would you still have that same energy if he had one strange wife that turned him to idolatry? So that would be in monogamy, right? So it doesn't really matter. You have what Ahab and a Jezebel or whatever. He had one wicked wife, okay, that made him look crazy, and he was a weak man and stuff. He had one wicked wife, okay? So do we have a problem with monogamy?
Throw out monogamy. Throw it out.
Exactly. Yeah, let's get rid of monogamy. Let's get out of that. Let's get out of monogamy because that doesn't work. If you want to go with Jacob, what specifically about polygyny was the problem? Because if we look at all the high points, and if I miss something, you're more than welcome to point it out. But let's see if I missed something. Let's see. He worked 7 years. The deal was for Rachel. He got tricked. Ended up getting Leah. Instead of getting rid of her, he says, instead of getting rid of Leah because he got tricked, he says, okay, fine, I'll work 7 more years for Rachel. Okay, so then he got Rachel on that. Now they were competitive in a sphere of being in sphere of having babies and things like that, right? And
there you go. That's what I'm talking about right there. That last part right there.
That's babies, not polygyny. That's babies. Okay, that's it.
But there was a back and forth with them two about that, though, correct?
About babies, not about polygyny.
So Kevin J, are you saying that if they weren't in a polygyny relationship, it wouldn't have been an issue about who's having the most babies or who having babies?
That's the problem I see from a male perspective. That's exactly the problem I see.
High Value Hebrew, are you saying like their issue had to do with babies? It has nothing to do with polygyny.
Yeah, it had nothing to do with polygyny, and I'll tell you why. I'll give you an example why it had nothing to do with polygyny. Because if it had something to do with polygyny, then Leah wouldn't have gave Bilhah to her husband, because that's more polygyny. Then Rachel wouldn't have gave her handmaid to her husband too, because that's more polygyny.
Facts.
So how is it polygyny and they're just giving their handmaids to their husband if polygyny is the issue?
Let me throw something out there though. Let me throw something out there. If you don't, so let's look at it another way. If you don't have other wives involved, and if she couldn't bear kids, what do she do? I think she would go to the Most High, because that's all you have to lean on. That's how I'm looking at it. I'm looking at it from a perspective of, okay, if ain't nobody else in the picture, right, you have to do something else. So that something else would be the Most High. She would have to lean on the Most High and say, hey, Lord, I have to bear this man some kids. But when you have another wife involved, that other wife, even though you're not directly blaming it on that, the fact that they're around, the fact that they're in the presence causes that. They're there, so that's another option. So what I'm saying, if you're taking the option away, then what do you do? That's how I'm thinking from the back door perspective. Like, if they're not there, then guess what? You have to, it's between you, the Most High, and the man. That's how I'm looking at it.
Okay,
that's like trying to get rid of cancer with chemotherapy and radiation. Just kill everything, so that there's nothing there. Let's just kill everything.
I don't agree with that. No.
Brother Kevin, that's exactly what you're saying. Brother Kevin, that's exactly what you're saying. You're saying just get rid of all that other stuff, because if polygyny was the problem, then the very people who you were supporting, the Rachels or the Leahs, then why did both of them offer another woman? Why go and offer their handmaid to their husband if polygyny is the problem? Let's walk it back. I'm Rachel or Leah, pick one, okay? And I'm thinking to myself, I don't like this competition with my sister. I don't like my husband having another wife. I don't like this. This polygyny thing is crap. I hate this. You know what? I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to give my handmaid to my husband so I can stop this polygyny stuff. It makes no sense, sir. On its face, it makes no sense.
Hold on. Kevin, you could go ahead and respond real quick. Then we're going to go to Akeem. Unmute your mic. I just muted for a second just so you can get his point in. But I want you to be able to get your last statement in. And then I want to get to some of this stuff Zadok said, because Zadok over here killing me right now in this comment section.
I think it's like a delay on my side too. It might be me. I apologize. I wasn't trying to cut him off, but I think there's a delay about that. Can y'all hear me?
We can hear you now. Now we can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay, you know what? I think there's a huge delay. I wasn't trying to cut the brother off too. So I think I have a really huge delay. But no, I understand what they're saying. I think for my terms, he makes a good argument from what he's saying. But I think what I'm saying is how I'm looking at it very, very plain 1, 2, 3-ish. I'm looking at it like this. If I take the other parts out, I'm minusing the problem. See, I'm the type of person where I like to minus problems. Like I'm not a huge mathematician, but when I look at both scenarios, even though it's not directly caused by polygyny, I'm adding the fact that, okay, you got these different options. And we know as human beings, when you have other options, other things are presented on the table. What I'm saying is this: you take those things off the table, and then you take other possible problems off the table too. That's why I mentioned Solomon, because if you take the other women off the table, that's also less problems that you have. I'm a very simple brother. You know what I mean? You're right in terms of how you're looking at it, but I'm extremely simple. I take problems off the table. That way I have, in other words, you take less things off, there's a less percentage of chance of something going wrong. And I'm not saying that's right. That's just how I look at it. That's all.
Okay, bro.
All right. Well, you know, I'm gonna give my 2 cents real quick just because I feel like it. Okay.
You can do that. Your prerogative.
I guess I look at it like this. I see where Kevin J is coming because I'm gonna tell you why I see where he's coming. Because I'm a woman and I know how we are. We're very catty. It really don't even have anything to do with what Robert Reed said, polygyny. This is just how we are. We do this with our sisters, and they not even, you know,
Yeah,
we do this
exactly.
with our friends. We're very catty. We're very like, and that's why I get along so much better with males. Like I can get my points across, great conversation, and move on. But with females, it's like it's so hard. So I could imagine. I see that will come with having. If my husband had a second wife, I could see the benefits. Great benefits, you know. Someone to help me do hair, cook, clean, you know, help my husband. Like that would be wonderful. Okay, like I would be excited. I would throw her a party every week just to thank her for her presence. But I could also see the drama that would come. I could see it, and I don't want to. I don't want to deal with that. So I could kind of see where he's coming. Like, look, man, I don't even want to dabble in that because it's just could be more. But then I could see what Robert Reed is saying. Like, this has nothing to do with the polygyny. It's just, I don't want to say it's women nature, but sometimes I think that's what it is. I don't know. I think it's nature. Like we're constantly competing with each other, even with the plastic surgeries, the fake butts and the titties and the lashes and the weaves. No man is asking for that. Like no man is out there saying, please, girl, get that big booty. I love when it's big like that and hard. Like, please put those lashes on so I can't see your eyeballs. I love that. No one said, please put that wig on your head to rip off all your edges with the glues. No man is asking for that. So, you know why are women doing this? Because we're competing with each other. Because we're extremely just catty with each other and always going back and forth. And I think both of you are kind of making a good point. So I'm kind of like in the middle, like, you know, like I see what Robert Reed is saying, but I also see what Kevin is saying. Me personally, if I was a man, you would be crazy to ever think that I would have 2 women, 2? Be crazy as hell. Like, nah, bro, that's too much work. That's too much.
That's too Nobody said it was easy. Nobody said it was easy.
Too much work. Like, bro, I feel sorry for that brother, man. I mean, if my husband did it, you know, hey, it's a lot of benefits for me, but it's way more risk for him than it would be benefits for me. But Akeem, go ahead. Go ahead.
You speaking facts, sis. No, I was gonna actually bring up that point because you can't point out polygyny as the issue when women, like you said, women do that anyway. They do that with their friends and their friendly circle. Oh, she had a baby, or she got married before I did, or if we both engaged, let me move up my wedding date so we can get it first. Little catty stuff like that. They do it anyway. So to say that the cattiness within polygyny, the reason of that is polygyny is not. It's gonna happen regardless. And then there's brothers out here that do polygyny wicked. I'm not lying for them or nothing like that. But when you do it correctly, you're vetting your wives. So you're not looking to find women to come into your household that's gonna be crazy, wicked, and out of order. You're gonna get women who are okay with it. Now, is there cases of just men trying to have multiple wives to have notches on his belt, you know what I mean? And these super brews that's trying to control their women, yes, but that's a small majority. And in those situations, yes, polygyny doesn't look enticing or is not carried out the right way. So it does look like it's wicked. But when you handle it correctly in accordance with the scriptures, you don't really run into those issues because all the women that's there, they know what polygyny is, they understand that it is lawful, and they want that help. Like you just said, you would throw her a party every week. Now, if if you were I'm polygyny right out the gate, and she was I'm polygyny right out the gate, even if there is some of that little bit of drama, y'all are gonna come together in sisterhood and work that out. And if y'all don't, y'all head is gonna, no offense, not trying to sound chauvinistic, but he gonna check y'all, and y'all gonna figure it out as a household. That's just being real with it. So
let's bring it back to secular then.
Okay, from a secular perspective,
we've been talking biblical for a little bit, so let's
yeah, from a secular perspective, I don't rock with it.
How would a secular person do it the right way?
There is no right way to do it secular. To me, yeah. For me.
Okay, what is the best way for them to do it where it's less problems? Let's do it that way.
Like from a secular perspective, if a man, like Brother Reed said, he got married, he had kids.
Okay.
For whatever reason, this didn't work out. They got a divorce. And he got remarried again, they had kids. And then he got remarried and then he had kids. All of them kids from them 3 different women, that's about the closest you're gonna get on the secular world. If you just going out like Nick Cannon and just popping out babies and having these half committed relationships, or even if it's a fully committed relationship, you still having relationships with multiple women. That's the rest of.
He does have, to be fair, he does have an agreement with them. He does have an agreement.
Oh, he does have an agreement with them.
So let me give an example. You got what's that guy's name? Future. Future got like 8, 9 baby mamas, right? Now we know one of them I think is married, Sierra. So we're gonna take her out because we don't mess with no married woman. So the rest of the 7, 8 baby mamas, if Future he got the money, he got the means, and he said, "Listen up, ladies. I done brought some property. I'm gonna build each one of y'all a house on these properties, and each one of y'all gonna get your own house, your own space. But we gonna all work out together so that my kids can be raised together, be around each other. I'm gonna take care of y'all, and I'm gonna have relationships with every one of y'all." Would that be a secular way of doing it? And would you think that could be profitable or not as stressed out as having a whole bunch of baby mamas all over the United States?
That's for me or for Kevin? Or I mean, Hakeem. Is it
that's
me or
for Hakeem, and that's for you, Reed, because you got the hot seat. But since Hakeem decided to come on the hot seat, we just gonna give him that question too.
All right.
I say, if the women is okay with that and they willing to put themselves in that situation, then that's on them. Because if it don't work out, don't go on Red Table talking about future this, future that. You feel me?
Exactly.
Because you had an opportunity to live your life in such a way where you was the number one option, and you know what I mean, and you had your man or whatever.
I feel like you're doing a little double talking right now, because you're saying you had the chance to be number one, but yet you were saying earlier that a man doing it the right way biblically is okay. So what's wrong with her being? I don't get it. How can?
I said if it don't work out. If it, for whatever reason, if it don't work out, she can't go crying about how the situation didn't work out.
The second part, you said she had her chance to be number one.
Right. If she's complaining about it not working out, she can't go back and say that, it's his fault. Correct. Right. She had, I said she had her chance, her opportunity.
To have this solo, she chose not to. She wanted to be in a multiple.
Correct. Yeah, she signed up for it.
About being in. Oh, okay. Because for a moment, I thought you were kind of saying like.
No.
Oh, okay.
It did sound a little bit like backtracking at first, but you did. I was like, is he backtracking right now?
No.
Okay.
I see what you said.
Okay.
So it's on you. It's on you. How you Hebrew?
Okay. So I'll tackle it a little bit. Like what Future, like Future's doing, that's wrong. Okay. What Nick Cannon is doing, that's right. I think the problem people have with it is there's no label on it. Okay. Nick Cannon, he's not identifying as a person of faith or anything like that. He's not saying these are my wives. So the problem is labels, right? But what he's doing in function is right. Hey, I want you to be my girl. I have other women, because we all know it's not like those 8 women don't know and the rest of the world knows, right? So he said, I want you to be my girl. Okay. I have other girls. I want to have children. I will take care of you and I will take care of the children. How is that different than David and Solomon and stuff like that? All you do is add a label to it. If he turned around and said, oh, well, they're my wives, So every Hebrew that believes in polygyny is gonna be like, yeah, he's doing it right. You know, he got all these wives, he's taking care of them, he has the means, they got an agreement, they understand it, he's not doing it behind their back. So he's not doing anything biblically wrong. He really isn't. Now, he don't have a ketubah, okay, but he has an agreement with these people, and they are agreeing to have children for him. And it's not a secret. They have an agreement. We are looking at it in real time that they have an agreement. Now, here's the difference. And I think what happens is people, they cannot see the difference. The difference is you have someone like Future, if you have someone like any other these other, you know, I'm just going to say celebrities. Any of the celebrities that are just running around having babies, they have no agreement. And the babies are like an accident. It's like, oh, okay, well, you know, I got another child, you know, stuff like that. These rappers or these superstars, they have all these different children, have all these different women. They have no relationship with these women, have no agreement with these women. They're just having babies, and that's it. They don't live together. There is no cooperation. There is no cohesion. There is nothing there. There's no covenant. Okay. And since we're talking about, you know, in the secular, there's none of that. So it looks a certain way. And so that part is not right. But, you know, when you have an agreement, everybody agrees to it. It's not a secret, and he's taking care of his responsibility. What is he doing wrong? So, you know, I'll just leave it. I'll leave it at that.
All right. So we're going to get to the closing statement. But Kevin J, I see you came back up. I'll let you add a few words, and then we're going to close it out. If anybody else got any more questions, y'all pose them. Jess Reese, thank you for coming on. You're always supporting, and I just, you know, love you for that. King, thank you. Zadok the God Hop, I know you weren't feeling well, so I hope you get well soon. And thank you again.
Get well soon, Zadok.
Yeah, thank you again for just showing that love. Just everybody out there who I'm seeing, you know, if I miss some people, I know it's a lot of you guys out there. Just thank you again for all the love and support that you guys show us. So Kevin J, you got any final words you want to add before we close it out?
Yeah, I don't know if I can be heard. I think the brother in the chat said, "King, answer my question about God allowing David to have more wives." That's on God, first of all. Now, if he's Tanakh only, that's cool. But I know when Christ talked about divorce, I think he was actually referring back to the very beginning, right? And that's how I look at it, because I believe in Christ. So when Christ was pointing those guys back to divorce, I don't know if anybody remembers that exactly, but when he was pointing them back, and he's saying, well, God said that's not so, right? He was pointing them back to the beginning, before all of that. That's what it looks like Christ was talking about. I think it was in Matthew chapter 19, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't want the brother to feel like, hey, you know what? Because you're not answering my question about, you know, David and more wives, I'm saying that God said it's wrong. That's not what I'm saying. That's God. That's the Most High. And I've always had the question, man, I wonder why God allows to allow that. We can say that about some other stuff too, by the way. But my whole point was this, though. When I look at what Christ said, right? When Christ pointed back and he said that was wrong to put your wife away, what example was Christ pointing to? See, that's how I look. Maybe I'm taking that wrong. That's how I took that. You know what I'm saying?
I got a hot seat question for you then, since you came on the hot seat and you up here.
You up here.
You done came up here, you hit that link, so you getting it too. So this will be my question to you then. And I'm not trying to make this biblical, but I can't help it. I gotta do it. It's my show and I feel like it, so I'm gonna do it.
Well, you know I'm a believer anyway. You know that.
So you said that, you know, Christ said, which is true, that from the beginning it was not so. So now you're saying, okay, when Christ came on the scene and when the Messiah came on the scene, he did a reverse. And we're going back to the beginning, and that's how we should look at marriage. Do you also believe that that's how we should do everything? Or are we just saying marriage? So, for example, in the beginning, they didn't eat meat. In the beginning, they were naked. In the beginning, like, it's a lot of things that was in the beginning. So if we only have one wife and that's it, because in the beginning, then should we not be eating meat? Should we walk around naked? Should we also do all those other things as well?
No, I don't feel that way. First of all, look, we got to remember who's talking, right? So Christ is talking. Christ is well after that point, right? I don't know if Christ is eating meat or not, but the point I was making was what Christ pointed back to. Now, if Christ don't point back to that, I ain't got nothing to say. But what I was actually bringing out the fact was that Christ himself in the New Testament, well after the Old Testament, So what you're asking me, Christina, it makes sense, but you're kind of a little bit swaying from what Christ said. Christ pointed me back, not Kevin pointed me back. Christ pointed me back.
And I
So
agree.
I see. Right.
I agree with you, but I'm agreeing with you. I'm saying yes.
Right.
Christ pointed us back to the beginning, telling us this is the foundation. This is the way
Right.
it's supposed to be. You guys did some stuff and changed it, so but this is the beginning. But what I'm asking you is, are we only referring to the marriage? Like, because he said in the beginning, marriage was like this, so we're not going to go back for anything else. That's what I'm trying to say. Should we only apply this logic to just marriage, or should we apply it to everything from the beginning? That's what I'm trying to
I get it now. Yeah, I get it. I totally understand now. I'm sorry if I misunderstood.
I agree with what you're saying.
Okay. No, well, I don't, because Christ made that point. In other words, Christ pointed back to the beginning to make that point about marriage, right? So that's the point I'm making. When Christ opened up his mouth and he said, hey, it should be like this from the beginning, guess what? I'm taking it for his word and his value that's how we should look at it in terms of marriage, because that's how we spoke.
So let me jump in there. Okay, let me jump in there, Kevin. You were saying, well, first of all, Christina was in line as far as using that as an example, because you were saying, hey, look at what he did. He pointed to the beginning, how it was in the beginning. And so she was just extrapolating that. For example, a vegetarian can make the exact same argument that you're making using your exact same logic. They say, look, in the beginning, we did not eat meat, so we shouldn't eat meat if we go back to how it was. But something changed along the way. So we find that in the law, right? In Genesis, correct?
Yep.
But don't we also find the provisions for eating meat in the law, correct?
Yes, 100%.
Okay, now don't we also find provisions for polygyny in the law, correct?
100%.
Okay, so what? So she wasn't conflating the two. It completely fits. It actually fits exactly what you're saying perfectly. So what you're doing is you're going back to original intent or original purpose and things like that. Okay, fine. But the point that she made is actually a point that I was going to make. There was a lot of things that were done originally that is not being done right now. We're supposed to be naked. We're supposed to be farmers. All of that, right? But something changed, even to the point where in 2 Samuel, 12, the Most High, the same Most High who said that in the beginning, the same Most High, he's the same one who said, hey, you know what? Had you wanted more, I would have given you more. I gave you your master's wives. And had you wanted more, I would have given you more. It's the same Most High who set it up in the beginning.
So I want to say something real quick. So Kevin, I think what you're saying is that because we find the exact reference of it being used in marriage, this is why you feel comfortable with it. But because we don't see verses where Christ is saying, in the beginning, we didn't eat meat. In the beginning, we were naked, and this is how it should be so. So I think, is that what you're saying? Like, because the verse.
That's exactly what I'm saying. That's
because the context is marriage, and he's saying specifically marriage. That's why you're saying that particular provisions and things like that would be a rewind, but everything else wouldn't be a rewind because we don't find evidence of that. Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly what I'm saying. See, like even go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I want to hear from Reed.
Oh, wow. I was just going to ask then. I get the point that you're trying to make. I just find it to be problematic at times, because why would the Most High liken himself to a polygynist if it's bad? Why would they liken the parable of the 10 virgins, which has to do with the Messiah? Why would you liken yourself to something that would be perceived as bad? And I'm not putting words in your mouth saying, you're saying, oh, it's sin, you shouldn't do it. I'm not saying that. I mean, you can say that on your own, but I'm just saying that why would that would be likened that way? Why the 10 virgins? Why I was married to your sister? I was married to Israel and Judah. Yes, we know the kingdom split and all that, but it's still, we cannot deny the fact that it's likened to polygyny. Is likened to having multiple wives. And if it's such a bad thing, then why would the Most High never compare himself to a pig or something abominable? So why compare himself to a polygynist?
Okay, so here's my point. And again, the brother King, it's not that I don't understand his point. I'm not really talking to you, Greg. I'm talking to this whoever the dude King is. God bless you, brother. First of all, I don't even know you. If you feel like I don't understand the scriptures, I understand why you may feel that way. Here's what I'm saying. I'm going to repeat it again so everybody understands, right? So in Matthew chapter 19, and I don't know if King believes in the New Testament or not. If he don't, then he can just stop talking to me. Now, if he do, that's cool. In chapter 19, this is what I'm saying. And this is what I'm trying to actually point out. I understand exactly what you're saying. I believe in the law. I believe in the Old Testament. And Christina knows it too. I believe in the Old Testament. I believe in the New Testament. What I'm saying, and Christina actually made my point very clear. In chapter 19 right here, he's going back through and he's pointing at certain things, correct? Am I wrong? If you understand Matthew chapter, if you understand chapter 19, he's kind of going back correcting some of the things that the Pharisees were getting wrong, right? That's the context of chapter 19. What I said was Christ made that comparison, and what I noticed about that comparison is that he skipped all the way back to the beginning. If Christ would have taken that comparison and he would have went to Abraham, let's say, I wouldn't say a word because it would then match up to what everyone is saying. But the fact that Christ, and it has nothing to do with me not understanding the scriptures, Sir King in the chat, it has nothing to do with that. I'm going off of Matthew 19, and I'm saying this. Christ went through this whole dialogue in the entire chapter and correcting some of what the Pharisees were doing. Mr. Reed, do you agree that Christ is correcting some of the things that were going on with the Pharisees at that particular time? You're a smart brother. I know you probably read the entire chapter of 19, right?
Correct.
Okay, this is what I'm talking about. The fact that Christ pointed to that particular instance, talking about marriage, that's why in my mind, a light bulb goes off and says, oh, you know what? Christ is going back to the beginning. He's going back before there were multiple wives. Now, I'm not saying that Christ was mad at David I'm not saying none of that. I'm simply saying this. The fact that Christ was correcting these brothers in the scriptures and in the laws, he went back to the beginning. That's what made me feel like, you know what? I'm going to go back to the beginning. I'm going to keep it just like that. Because it was just them two. That's all.
Before you jump in, I'm going to let you go. But I got a question then. Could it be possible, because now that you said it, I'm thinking about everything. Could it be possible that he took us to the back, took us to the beginning, but that doesn't mean that everything else in the middle doesn't count? Because I'm thinking about the verse where it talks about how he says, I did not come to destroy the law and the prophet.
100%.
So could he have just been taking us there, but not necessarily meaning get rid? Because just because I take you somewhere, if I say in the beginning, if I take you there, that doesn't necessarily mean that everything else is voided. That we're saying that it's voided. He never said it's voided. He just said in the beginning, this is how it was, meaning that this was his purpose. This was his vision.
Right.
How he wanted it to be. He wanted a lot of things to be. No sin. A lot of things he didn't
want.
I
was just going to say that. Yes.
So just because he took us back, does that necessarily mean everything is now gone? And if it is now gone, wouldn't that be going against? Because I'm thinking now, wouldn't it be going against him saying that he didn't come to do that?
Exactly.
No, I totally get that question, and I don't disagree with that. I think the part that's being missed from how I'm looking at what Christ is saying, I think this is being left out. The part, okay, when we read that Bible verse, and he specifically says, when he takes you back to the beginning, and he said, for this cause shall a man leave the father and a mother, and cleave to his wife, singular, and they twain shall be one flesh. The message that goes off of my head is this. I'm not saying that Christ has anything or going against any laws himself. I'm saying to me, if I'm going off of that for me, for Kevin Johnson, I'm going to keep it one woman because the way I'm taking what he's saying for me is, you know what? One woman, one flesh. And again, I'm a simple man, less problems. So now, does that mean you can't have more than one wife in God's eyes? I'm not saying that, but I will say this though, that the particular example that Christ used just so happened, he went back to the beginning when there wasn't multiple anythings. And also, my thought process on multiple wives is what happened after the fact. See, men sinned, and a lot of things changed from the jump. We sinned from the jump, and in that sin, things continue to change. I.e.,
Okay.
that's why this Bible's so big, because we continue to sin. So that's just how I'm looking at it. You can say I'm wrong. I would probably agree, but that's how I'm looking at that particular
Okay.
text. I
Well,
hope that makes sense to you both.
no, it made sense, but let me just go ahead and point something out real quick because I don't want it to get lost. The problem with Matthew 19 that people are having, and I don't want to say that there's a problem with Matthew 19, but the problem that people are having with Matthew 19, if I can correct that, is that now we're changing the context. Like everything that you just said, and I know you dropped them down, but everything that he just said had to do with marriage. The problem is the Pharisees came to Christ to ask him about divorce. And so this whole thing is about divorce because they asked him, can a man divorce a woman for any cause? Right. So we're taking it out of context and we're thinking, oh, it's about polygyny. No, it's not about polygyny. It's about divorce, period. The person, think about this. Even let's imagine just for a second, I'm just saying, I'm just imagining for a second. Imagine that the person asking Christ the question was in fact a polygynist. And let's pretend he had like 10 wives. His question is still valid. Can a man divorce a woman for any reason? He can have 10 wives and ask that question right there. We're going to deny the fact that in the society that they were in, even in the first century, that they were still polygynous. We can't deny that. Okay. We know history will show that they were still polygynous, even if you go into the Josephus, right? So polygyny was still very common. So it didn't change. Polygyny is not affected in any way. So again, he went back to the beginning because he was just establishing the foundation on what families were built on. It's not the only thing that families are built on, because why would he even come out of a line of a polygynous family? Why would the Messiah choose to come out of the line of, of Judah, come from a polygynous family, Israel or whatever? If it's so bad, why have all these provisions for polygyny? If it's so bad, and then everyone wants to say, okay, well, look, things went wrong. Well, Adam had one wife and something went wrong. Okay. They had 2 boys and one killed the other one. Okay. Are we going to blame that on monogamy? And that was in the beginning. That was in the beginning. So what I see a lot what people do is that they try to use the examples of polygyny to say, oh, this bad, this went wrong, that's right, this and that. But it had nothing to do with polygyny. It had to do with the people inside the institution. Because if I can go through the Bible and I can point at every failed marriage in that Bible, are we going to blame it on monogamy? Okay, fine. Let's go. Let me land this plane. Let's go outside the Bible, because this is not really a biblical show. Let's go outside the Bible.
Yeah, but I enjoyed every bit of it. I know we weren't supposed to do it, but I didn't care. I wanted.
Okay, so let's go to the secular. Okay, in the secular, people are getting married in America secularly and with monogamy, and more than half of them are failing. And yet nobody is saying something's wrong with monogamy. Why? You can't legally get married in this country to multiple wives. Okay, that would be bigamy. You can't legally do it. So the only marriages in this country that's recognized by this country or recognized in the West is monogamous marriages, and they're failing at an over 50% rate. Why isn't nobody saying monogamy is wrong or something's wrong with it? And we can move on.
So my question would be this: do you think that polygyny? It wouldn't be polygyny for secular because it'll be something else.
Right.
But do you think that would actually help the community? Like, for example, if there was a man that had multiple baby mamas and he's still messing with them and he decided to come together as a family and work together, do you think that if everyone did that, it would be better?
Let me answer it this way. Besides the fact of a man getting financially great, I'm using the word great, besides that, put that aside. Is it a good thing that a man takes care of his children financially? Is that good?
Yeah.
Okay. So why would it not be good that the man takes care of his children and the woman that he had the children with? Because that's what polygyny is. So why would that be bad? So yes, it would help the community if they did it responsibly. Because guess what? Every child would have a father or a father figure, and every woman would have a husband. Problem solved.
Okay. Like I said, y'all, this is the hot seat with Robert Reed. I value Hebrew. And y'all, we got a couple of more stuff we did on the channel. It's coming out soon. We got some reactions. We got a show we did on Simps. Ooh, y'all got to check out the Simps. I'm working on it now. We already got it pre-recorded, so I'm going to be putting it out this week. I'm looking forward to sharing it with the people. Thanks again for all you guys coming. I want to give Robert Reed the final thoughts about, kind of wrap up everything from the beginning to the end, if you could. Your point, your perspective, anything you might want to share with the people that you feel was kind of lost. I know we got on a little bit of the biblical side, and I try to stay focused, but I couldn't help it, man. Between Kevin J and Akeem and Zadok in the chat and Jess Reese, she was on fire, bro. Like,
hey, salute to Jess Reese.
I couldn't help it. Like, they got me all, they got me worked up, And you know what? It's my show, and I feel like doing it, so I don't care. So anyway.
Yeah, I didn't know I can like somebody who was against me. I like how Reese was coming. I mean, for real, I'm serious. I wasn't bothered at all. She was trying to bring it, and so I like that.
It's the hot seat, so she was like, "Oh, okay, you want the hot seat? I'm gonna bring it to you." Go ahead and share with the people, of course, your final statements, your final words, anything you felt like you didn't get out, and then of course where everybody can reach you.
Well, let me just go ahead and I guess summarize a little bit. Okay, we got High Value Hebrew or High Value Men, Red Pill, and Passport Bro. Okay, so High Value is, I'll tell you why it's good. It's good because it requires a man to increase his value. It requires a man to level up. So this is good. Women want men to level up. So this is good. And so this space, when we talk about high value men, guess what? It gives a man something to aspire to, right? So it's time to get better. I mean, think about it. We have women complain all the time, hey, he needs to do something about it. He needs to do something with himself. He needs to make something of himself. He needs to be a real man. He needs to be a real leader. Guess what? That's what high value is, okay? Men, we can't afford to be delusional, okay? Because reality will slap us in the face, okay? We can claim we're high value, and if we can't produce what high value produced, then we're not high value. If we're not validated by some other men, as high value, then we're not high value. We can't live in delusion. Red pill. The red pill is just being aware of female nature, being aware of, that you were in the matrix. We were plugged in the matrix. We believe in, a lot of men felt like what their dating options right there in their neighborhood, right there in their circle, that's all they had. They had to put up with it. They thought that, they had to put up with, baby mama and they had to adhere to the program. The mother raising a son will be like, hey, whatever you do, you take care of that woman. Whatever you do, you don't put your hands on a woman. Whatever you do, you stand up, you be a man and all that. But the same thing is not taught to a female. And guys are kind of waking up to that or whatever, because if you ask most modern women today what they like in a man, they want a traditional man, but they themselves are not traditional women. So that's a problem. So the red pill is really just making guys aware of those type of things and aware where they need to change their mindset, right? That's the red pill is actually giving them a positive mindset, is actually doing something better for them. They say, okay, I realize why my relationships fail. Okay. Some of them are realizing that, oh, wow, I was a simp. I was a pushover. She couldn't respect me. She had nothing to respect. I was a wimp, that kind of thing. So men are starting to wake up, okay? And it's a good thing, because guess what? Women want high value, high caliber guys. So that's what red pill is doing. Now, I know there are some guys out there who experience a red pill rage and all that. And, that's fine. They need some healing and all that. Now, Passport Bros. The Passport Bros, again, this is a result. Passport Bros is a result of what's going on. The men keep hearing it over and over again. I don't want a man. I don't need a man. I can do it all by myself. It's like a bluegrass song. I don't want no man. I don't need no man. I can do it all by myself. No. Guys are hearing that, and it's over. They're like, okay, fine. You don't want me. You don't need me. I'm out of here. I'm gone. It's a result. It's what's happening, okay? And in the market, it's like, okay, they're getting passed over, and not all of them. Some guys are getting results. They don't like the results that they're getting. They don't like the women that they're getting, because guess what? You can like someone, guess what? They have to like you back. So to go back to what you're saying way in the beginning, okay, this is one of the ways that you will know if it is you, okay? If I go overseas, if I grab a plane ticket and I go overseas and I get the exact same results, it's me. So there's nothing wrong with grabbing your passport and going to see what you can get. Say, okay, let me go. I can't get a traditional wife over here in the West. Let me go ahead and grab my passport and let me go find a traditional wife somewhere else. And if I can't find it somewhere else, then it is you. It is you. It's you. I'll be more than willing to tell a guy, yes, it's you. Okay, it's you. You're the problem. So that's really all it is. So this space is actually helping so many men. I'm hearing stories of guys not deleting themselves just because they found the space, because they thought they were going crazy. I actually talked to a guy for months, right? For months, getting him red pill aware, getting him, I got him to get a passport, all that other stuff. And he actually said, man, I thought I was going crazy. I thought I was losing my mind because everything he was doing, nothing was working. Why? He wasn't aware of female nature. He wasn't aware that he's actually, if he increases value, he would actually be the prize and he would actually have options. He wasn't aware that women can be feminine, fit, friendly. He found that out when he went overseas. He found that out real quick. He's like, wait a minute. He didn't know what it was like to have it. He had 2 back-to-back failed relationships where he was blue pill, beta male simp provider, doing everything, taking care, working hard, working extra hours, trying to make it to where the girls that he was with, that they didn't have to work, all that kind of stuff, and nothing was working. He gets attitude, disrespect, all this modern stuff. And I diagnosed it. I said, look, maybe you're with modern women, okay? And then, of course, we do like a little litmus test, certain questions and things like that. Hey, they were modern women. Okay, get your passport, go over here, have a vacation, all right? Go over here, find yourself traditional wife. So he goes over there, entertains different ones, and I really do mean entertain. I'm not trying to secretly say sleeping with a lot of women. He really just having conversations just to see if he's going crazy. Asking them questions, okay? Looking at them, okay, they're feminine, fit, friendly, okay? And then about the disrespect level, they have a respect and a reverence for men in these other countries. Well, how do you feel about cooking and cleaning? He's getting responses across the board. That's normal. That's what we do. We were raised to do that. So in other words, he's meeting women that were raised to be wives. So I said all that to say this. The space is helping men because before men had no space. Men did not say what was on their mind. Men never voiced their preferences. We just suffered in silence. That's why you had guys, they get off work. What did they do back in the day? They went to the bar, they drank their sorrows away, then they drug themselves back home to have a little bit of dinner and just to do it all over again the next day. And men are waking up now and said, you know what? If I'm going to make something of myself, then I deserve to have better. So with that, I want everyone to like, share, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend. This woman is hard working. Okay. Tell a friend to tell a friend. And please, let's get this algorithm going, guys. Let's get the conversation going. Let's keep it going. Let's keep it going. I'm just here, to support because, I see her vision. Christina, she tells me about her vision. I see her vision and I believe in her vision. So guys, please, tell other people, let's get this thing going. Let's get this conversation going because many of you say you want change. It ain't going to change if we're silent and we don't talk about it.
Exactly. And where can the people reach you? Let the people know.
You can reach me on 3 different platforms. Your YouTube. Now, I'm most active on TikTok. Let me say that, at the outset. I'm most active on TikTok. So High Value Hebrew on TikTok. YouTube, I'm working on that. I have a lot of other things going on right now, but I'm working on the YouTube. And then last would be, Instagram. So TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, High Value Hebrew. Thank you guys for having me.
Oh, thank you again for being here. And thank you guys, everybody in the chat. Thank you guys for being here. You guys are on fire today, man. Y'all was lighting it up. I know we kind of steered off, but I enjoyed it. I think it got really good. And that way, at least everybody got fed. Our secular people and also our biblical people. If you feel like you learned something today and you enjoyed the show, we put a lot of hard work, time, and energy into this. And you feel so in your heart to want to donate and show some love and support to the channel, please Cash App Let's Talk Podcast 55. We'll appreciate any donation, and all of that will be put back into the show that we try to put on every single week. With that being said, thank you guys again for coming. I know I wanted to close it out, but I seen a comment that the sister put up, and I think it's important that you address it just real quick if you could. She was saying that she has some concerns with the ideas of High Value Hebrew being introduced into the community that has standards by God. So it's kind of like that question that it was similar to that question you got when you did the red pill, blue pill debate about. Okay. So what made you start High Value Hebrew coming from a biblical background, the fountain of Israel and things like that? And what do you think about her concerns?
I understand the concern. So Sister Reese, I understand your concern, and it's a fair question. The reason why I do it regardless is because when we look at all these stats, statistics, and failed marriages, failed community, it's our community. The numbers are the same. People in the faith, people out of the faith. It's the same. Now we have different set of solutions, remember, because we have different solutions than the secular world, but we have the exact same problems. Okay, we have Yah, we have Torah, we have Mashiach. Okay, in the community, but the problems are the same. They're the exact same. So that's why we're dealing with it. That's why I'm dealing with it, because it's the exact same. Do we not deal with divorce? Do we not deal with child support? Do we not deal with adultery and fornication? Do we not deal with all these things? And the same thing happens in the world. So we have the exact same problem. And the only way we're going to fix it is if we come together, we talk about it. The difference with us is that we have a biblical solution. That's why I tackle the subject.
And that's a similar reason why I started Let's Talk Podcast. For people who don't know, I am a biblical believer, New and Old Testament. And we are very obedient in our household to the best of our ability. But the reason I started Let's Talk Podcast, because I do have a ministry outside of this, but the reason I started Let's Talk Podcast was because I noticed that people that were in my biblical community were dealing with all these issues, being a single mom, mourning a loved one, bringing in a stepdad to help raise the kids. Even when we talk about dieting, we had a show recently about soul food and, how it affects our bodies. Even promiscuous activities and the way we dress and carry ourselves. And we had a show about Freaknik and even sexual assault. All these things is going on in both communities. And what I was thinking was, if we just have our biblical people, I'm not saying they're doing anything wrong, but all the years I spent in that community, I don't ever remember hearing them talking about men not being heard, or women raising kids by themselves, or children needing a father. I don't remember hearing any of that. But yet it needs to be heard. But yet I'm in the secular space and these people are talking about it, and they're talking about it in a perverted sense. So why not bring people to the table who have that spiritual understanding and have that head and have that way of really seeing the fullness of the picture, and have them talk about single parents, child support, being promiscuous, raising kids by yourself, not having a why not? If anyone should talk about it, shouldn't it be people who have a fear and a faith in God? I mean, at least that's what I want to know. But if we come with it as like a Bible idea, 1 John 5 and Matthew and Revelations, the secular people will reject it. They don't want to hear it. Now the message gets lost, and you only reach the people who you've always reached, that's sitting in your congregation. So in order to reach the people and reach out to the world and still push the ideas of what the Most High God wants us to do, we try to figure out a way to do it, which is through Let's Talk Podcast, High Value Hebrew, and things of that nature. So thanks again for everybody that came on. Robbery, like always, thank you. I can't wait to get the rest of that content out. Kevin J, thank you for coming up. I respect you, brother. Me and you talk all the time, and I appreciate everything you did. Just Reese, I see you doing your thing, and I can't wait for you to come back again. Like always, till then, make sure you guys continue to go to the channel, like, subscribe.